All right, Zig coming in on the top. Today we are joined by Cellophane Jane, one of the coolest and most talented rock groups out of Cleveland. Definitely a group you should know about. We are joined by Lex, Nate, and Connor of Cellophane Jane. Also, a bonus guest, Hope Window Sky of the Franz. It was recorded in Cellophane HQ, and it's always good to recap with friends and know that they're still doing it and they're still killing it. So, Lex, it was in a band called the Marauders, and they are playing April 1st at C-Bars. It's the Marauders' last show. It features Ray Flanagan and me as a solo dolo endeavor. And a lot of my formative solo gig attempts were allotted to me by opening for the Marauders at Bella W, which is now Taco Tano's. And I wouldn't be able to have figured out how to even navigate a solo gig like that. So to have the opportunity to open for them on their last gig is a really cool rite of passage. April 1st, Marauders, last show, C-Bars, come hang. But Cellophane Jane's here to talk about their new album. They have an album out called Ballad of the Bad Luck Boy. It's the intense journey Lex went through regaining a lot of his health back and how he did that. And this album is a concept album of that journey back to health. And I'll let him explain that more, but it's an insanely inspiring story, and I'm excited to be able to share that with you guys today. But before we do that, we're going to listen to a track off the album. This is The Great Pretender off Ballad of the Bad Luck Boy, the single version. Check it. So, right? That's some like real deal rock stuff that you don't even hear anymore. And it's so good. It's so good. And the album, that's just a taste of it. It gets even better on the record. So do yourself a favor and check it out. Ballad of the Bad Luck Boy. One more thing I want to plug with Cellophane Jane. I play in a band called C-Level, letter C-Level. We put out a new album. It's called Think For Yourself. And one of the singles we did with Lex from Cellophane Jane. It's called Sunny, and it's available on all streaming platforms as well. So if you dig my shenanigans and you dig Cellophane Jane and you want to hear what that sounds like together, that is also available on all streaming platforms. All right, and with that, if you guys, one last thing, I promise. If you guys can like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast and any of the podcast platforms, that helps me keep talking to cool guests like my friends here from Cellophane Jane and sharing their insight with you. So without further ado, here's my chat with Cellophane Jane of HQ. Let's get like an intro check on the mics, you know? So like if we go around the circle, we're here in the basement with Cellophane Jane. And let's go around the circle so people can pick up on the voices, starting with you.
Oh, I'm going first?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I feel important.
The leader of this band.
The leader of the band.
Clearly
yes.
the leader. That's why I'm on bass. My name is Connor. I'm not going to tell you my last name. You can figure that out yourself.
I'll type it in, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
and
dox me.
Moving on. Next voice we're going to hear.
I'm Nate. I'm the drummer for Cellophane.
Moving on.
I'm Lex Moda, not to be confused with Alan Made. Close, but no cigar.
Also a good guy.
Yes.
And also joining us,
Hope.
Hope. So one thing I wanted to start this off. What I wanted to start this off with, and me and Hope are hanging out all day. Hope had her first gig yesterday.
Ooh.
Yep. She plays bass in the band The Franz, which is a pro public transit punk band. Right?
Oh,
So
wow.
they're
love
all
that.
about riding the bus and shit. And she played bass in it, and like we practiced. I say we because I was with you for a big chunk of this rehearsal leading up to it. Not that I did anything, but I was there and up until the gig. So I kind of wanted you to describe your first gig experience, and I thought maybe we can. This is a good starting point for us to relate, and maybe tell Hope how it's gonna get better and go downhill.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Hope, get on the
that.
mic, get closer to the mic, because the closer you are, the less I have to edit.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, Hope.
Well, it was good. I was like, I could very well forget absolutely everything and just stand up there like a nerd But like I remember, I was like, oh, okay, like I think I got it. And also, everyone was drunk, so
It was a Halloween party.
That
It
is
was-
the
wow.
best you could ever hope for.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And there was like a lot of people there.
Yeah, there was like at least 50 in this tiny.
Yeah.
It was slammed.
Negative
I was
space?
No, this was just some dude's
Somebody's
house.
garage.
Oh.
His name was
that is
Duncan.
Even better.
Right?
Ooh.
I haven't played a house
Duncan's
show
Garage.
in years. They're the best.
They're
They're
the
always the
best.
best. Because
But it
there's
was,
no one
I mean, it
else.
was really fun. I don't know. Like I was telling Dave, like parties are a lot cooler when you're playing them instead of just like aimlessly wandering around. Like,
So was that like
You have a purpose.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like then I was saying like it's kind of like when you're putting on a show like that, you're like you have this whole like under like you have a goal. You're like I got to make this a fun thing so people relate fun with this band and maybe they come back to see it.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, you guys have always done a very good job of that.
No,
Like
thanks,
being
man.
like entertainers.
What was it? I think that's just because we're goofy in general.
Oh yeah, but I think
People
that's
laugh at
a
us normally.
yeah, but that's a really important part of like playing in a group and playing in a band is like being entertainment because that's what you're there to do.
Right.
I mean, obviously you want to like focus on being creative and everything, but I mean, we've all gone to see a band that might be like technically good, but they just don't like do anything besides stand there and play. And you forget about that. You just
Right.
you walk away and you're like, I'm not satisfied. I didn't get entertained, So like there's that extra level of like oomph that you have to put on a performance to to be memorable and to give somebody something, because otherwise they could just go listen to whatever you have on Spotify.
Right. Right.
But they're not going to if you didn't entertain them. So
But I 110% agree with that, and I've talked to a lot of people recently that have been like, that have done acting to some degree, and have like stressed how important that aspect is to performing and music, and like just
Absolutely.
how even the same mindset can kind of like, transfer. And one thing from Bella W days,
The good old days.
Lex, yeah, like. Holy shit, as far as entertaining goes, like every time I've seen you guys, it's the fucking real deal. Like you can't be on the other side of the bar or the venue without being like, oh, I hear something's going on. But did any of you guys worry about forgetting all your shit before playing?
every single
Always.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's always that mindset there. My first introduction to playing live though was at jam nights.
Yeah.
So
Where and with
Mr.
who?
Ease.
Moonlight on Broadview
Oh,
Road.
yeah, I've been there once.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
The original Moonlight up at
Yeah.
the top of Broadview. Griller's Pub is where it moved to after that. But
Who
it
was
still-
hosting?
Butch Armstrong.
Butch. Okay.
With a
Nice.
bunch of other
Classic.
like Dominic Monachino,
Yeah, yeah,
Mikey Dealey on drums,
yeah.
Denny, and then Billy Mangano on bass. So like playing those songs, and like some of them I knew, some of them I just go up there and just get thrown into it.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, all right, I gotta figure this out.
But see, Mike nights are crucial because they make that environment. They take the stress from the stage away and they make it fun, right? And you get used to being there. What was that? I remember I did a gig with Robin Blake with his group, and holy shit, I was worried about forgetting fucking everything for that gig. Luckily, that's a type of gig that's okay to have sheets in front of you. Have changes. Like, what about you?
First gigs, I mean, I think I did, it was like Arabica. It used to be Quonset Hut over on the corner in Parma off of
Yeah.
Broadview. And I think I ended up writing a song. So I went with my brother, and he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, are you, like, let's do this. I was like, okay. Super spooked to do it. Right before, I think I was like, maybe I was like 11 or something. Right before we went out to play, I went outside. I called all my friends, and nobody wanted to show up. They couldn't show up because their
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
were like, I'm not driving you to that coffee shop. So I was like, I was scared and alone outside. And then I played a show, and I played it, and it was fine. It was fun, but so let's do it again next week. I mean, I probably didn't play out until I started doing jam nights, I think.
Yeah. What was it? And where did you go?
Well, so I met you, I think, at Mr. E's, and you had been playing jam nights for a while before me.
Yeah, that would have been
Where's Mr. E's? Was that
I don't know if it's still
State
open.
and Pearl.
It's on the way to the zoo.
State and Pearl meetup.
okay?
Yeah. And it was like a hole in the wall, kind of,
Yeah.
you know. And they would like give everybody food at the end of the night. They didn't pay you guys.
Yeah.
And I played Smoke on the Water. That was a lot of fun.
Very difficult tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was at that time.
Most people
really.
never learn it, actually.
Well, aside from the main riff, you know,
It
besides
is
from
actually
that,
no joke. It is. I mean, most of Deep Purple is like very involved.
right.
Yeah. But
Except-
it's funny that like that one riff is like the simple one.
yeah.
Oh.
But it's that minor interval, right? That is so guitar based.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And like so many songs, like those same two notes, you can if you go a different direction, it's Iron Man. If you go
Yeah.
up the scale, it's or down the scale, it's that Cream song.
I think I recently heard Richie talking about how he'd written that, and it was
Yeah.
like Beethoven's Fifth, like backwards.
Backwards,
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, what? It's so
'cause
brilliant
it's
for
a
being
minor
so
third.
simple. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild.
The fuck.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of things like that are just simple twist. You know.
Yeah,
And,
well, it's like Tim Comerford's like bass lines are apparently him just like slowing down jazz riffs,
Yeah.
and that's like the majority of rage bass.
Huh.
It's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
At
But
least
you know,
that's what Barrick always used to tell me.
yeah. Well,
I
you
think
know,
that's
it
who told me.
locks in and it's tight. It's like got its own little pocket. If you just,
Yeah.
I can hear that. Because like some of the like walking jazz bass lines, like there's so much in that.
Dude.
I mean, that's I mean, to
yeah,
some degree that's like
absolutely.
samples are so much or just like a snippet of jazz, you know.
Well, it's all like it all comes back around. It's all a circle, you know. Like there's only so much, especially in like Western music. There's only so many notes. There's only so much music to be written. So it's just got to be like reinterpreted constantly. It's
Right.
just like a constant cycle of like washing and drying, and you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's like if you made up your own words, right? If I was just
Yeah.
like "Scuttlebus," huh? And you're like, what? I'm like, I'm original, dog. Why don't you get it?
Yeah.
Like, fucking, no one's
like
gonna care how original you are if you don't speak the same like mindscape.
Yeah. That's wild.
But you
It's-
know what I
it's-
mean? Like
it's very
that's what's beautiful about having this set of restrictions and appreciating how someone stacks their rocks. You know?
Yeah.
Like, wow, you made a cool wall, or wow, that's a circle pit with fire. Nice, you know?
That's metal.
That's metal.
No wrong way.
Yeah, there is no wrong way.
Yeah. Literally no rules. Just some stuff sounds better to our ears than others.
Yeah, well, that's that's where
that's why
hot
this-
topic
That's called
debate.
taste, babe.
That's called taste. But you know, and
Yeah.
like, see, like that type of mindset becomes okay when you're welcomed on a stage to fuck around. When you're welcome to be like in front of people, and someone's like, "We're gonna do Tom Petty, and you can solo on it for like 30 minutes," because you know what I mean, like. How many times at those mic nights did you play Hey Joe, Mary Jane's Last
I
Dance?
got lucky. I didn't have to do it.
What?
Because I'm playing guitar, so I'm the one leading the band.
Ooh.
Now, if I was to
Ah.
play drums, which I did, yes, many times. I think it was Mustang Sally
Yeah,
mostly.
I can't do Mustang.
You can't
I
do
j-
Mustang.
I hear it. I just
Ah.
Sympathy with the Devil's another one. That's one of those that
Really?
just it gets started. How do you end it?
Ooh, that's a great
See,
question.
it just gets started,
Right.
and then nobody wants to end it.
Just ruins 12-bar blues for you after a while. You know, just
And we were going week after week after week.
Yeah,
and
I
so
mean,
we
it was-
just had to hear it over and over
Right,
and over
right.
again. So I know what I don't like.
But you know, you got past that discomfort from that first
Yeah,
Arabica
totally.
gig. You know, I think about my first one. My first like gig was Pats in the Flats. Right, that was kind of a cool first
yeah,
gig,
totally.
and it was with a high school band. And we did the covers, you know, but we weren't playing with anyone else other than ourselves. You know, we had like one original, and like, and I since have seen the guy's name is Scott, and he started coming out to my mic night now, which is cool to catch up, you
That's
know. But
tight,
like
yeah.
that was our first gig was Pats in the Flats.
Wow.
So it kind of only went up, you know. If I
Yeah.
look at the trajectory,
Shoot.
I guess I'm doing okay.
yeah.
But did you guys? You've all played Pats, right?
I have.
Yeah. No.
Not.
Yeah,
I've
missed
never-
out
We
on
got to
a
tell the
legend.
kids about
Yeah.
Pats. Let me tell you about a flooded basement where you can only get RC Cola with cash.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
a great way to
real
put
punk rock.
It wasn't even punk. It was just. I don't think she cared to get anything else
No,
in there.
yeah. Oh, that was funny.
What was your first time playing at Pats?
First and only time I played with Alan, and I was playing drums. I don't remember what year it was. It was maybe like 6 years ago, something like that. It wasn't
Yeah.
too long ago. It was
Oh.
before they closed.
Okay.
Yeah, and God, we were so loud in there too. Jeez. And like they still had that stage up, but like nobody was on the stage. So
Right.
they were all off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was almost just like a drum rise at that point.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and like Pat's was cool because it let anything happen, and it was a good first place to start.
Yeah,
and it was like in the flats by all these. It was the sketchiest area.
Oh my God!
It
You
was
just go
so,
down that hill and you're straight to the bar.
and you're like, wait, there it is, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's cartoonish, like it's a Scooby like haunted mansion like venue, and like there's this. You go in there, and everyone's like, yeah, the White Stripes played their first gig here in Ohio, and you're like, I okay, like checks out, like, but like so. You have an interesting like background because your brother played music too.
Oh, yeah.
and your dad does as well.
Yep.
So let's kind of like dive into what that, because I've been to like I talked to your brother actually at what was it, Tessa's Sean Muzak's
yeah.
party. He was there dressed up as a giraffe.
Yep. He almost wore that the other day to the
Yeah.
show. They said we had dinosaur heads on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that's like to grow up around it, you know, and you play bits of everything.
Yeah.
Right. So like what, like did you start with guitar? Did you start with drums? Like what was it?
There's pictures of me playing with this like tiny guitar, which I'm surprised I didn't bring over here yet, but I just don't have space for it. Tiny guitar, and then I had a tiny drum set, and I broke the shit out of both of them. I still got the tiny guitar.
Yeah.
The first instrument I really started playing on was piano, I'd say, when I was in like kindergarten or
Yeah.
so. But then I go downstairs every once in a while, and I would like tap on the drums, and it was like, stop playing the drums. Like, leave it alone.
It's loud, okay.
Yeah.
Well, your dad's a drummer, right?
He is.
Yes.
Yes.
And did he play in any bands? Was like music?
Oh
like,
my God! Yeah, he was playing. Jeez, he started playing in '65, and then he was playing all over town. He dominated the agoras for a while. There, like several of them.
Wow. Like what?
He was in this
bands?
band called SRO.
Okay.
That was the big one. He did a bunch of wedding bands and two. I think one was called like Showcase, but
Okay.
SRO specifically
Yeah.
was like the big one, and they were I think they were supposed to open for, let's see, like the Sex Pistols.
Okay.
And there was somebody else too, Cheap Trick. They were playing like hardcore.
Yeah.
They opened up for Michael Stanley Band once, and Michael Stanley Band got booed off the stage. So then SRO didn't play out anymore because they kind of got blacklisted. You know, but
That's
yeah.
fucking
And then he
awesome.
played throughout the '80s and the '90s and stuff, but it wasn't anything really intense, just because he had a family at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was he hanging out with like the heavier bands from that like time? Or that was like where SRO was like gigging? Were they gigging with like some of those heavy?
They mostly stayed local,
Okay.
unfortunately. I think he had to drive. He wanted to leave. He wanted to go out, and he wanted to go on tour. There was somebody was talking about like it was like the summer of '76 or something like that. They were going to go down to Florida and do this big tour, and like half the band didn't want to do it, and it was
Yeah.
like, you know, they were selling out these shows. There was no
Right.
reason why they couldn't go, and they would have just destroyed. But yeah, I don't know. So he
Okay.
just kind of got dealt a bad hand, I think. And when you're a
Gotcha.
drummer,
You don't get too much
you really don't.
You
Yeah,
do,
You can't
you
lead the
do.
band.
during the gig. You're like, we're going this fast.
Yeah.
You can bitch about it later.
He did have a couple instances where the bands would show up and they would like start talking to the other two people, like the guitar players, like, oh, who's playing in your band? They'd say, you know, Tom Maddock, and they'd be like, you guys aren't playing the show. There's no way. They're
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? He's like, he's too good. You're not playing the show. We'll pay you the money. Just stay home. Just go back home. Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel about that if I
But
was told,
you-
like, I don't want you to play the show because you're too good.
Right. That's like, I feel like you're lying to
Yeah.
me.
Very strange, you know?
But you know, like it was kind of a mystique back then, where it was easier, I think, to kind of make a facade because not everyone knew how good you
Yeah.
were. You know what I mean? Like you weren't like uploading stuff where people can see exactly what you're doing, like
Yeah.
they are now. Like, which is kind of cool about now.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole nother conversation. But I feel like I cut you out. Okay.
It was
Okay.
definitely like
Well,
it
you
was-
got to say, Nate.
It was like scary word of mouth too, because he was
Yeah.
the only person in town that had a double drum kit, and he would play like Keith Moon or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Ginger Baker with this double set. And so
Yeah.
the one night they played the Agora, and he wasn't loud enough, and they had just gotten two Fender Twins with SRO speakers, of course. So they were super freaking loud. So
Yeah.
they were like, "You need something else. You can't compete." So he went and got this Pearl kit made out of fiberglass.
Yeah.
Played out with that. And they're like, you need to turn down. Like, how do you turn the drums down? You just told me to turn up. Like, what do you want?
I forget who I was joking with yesterday. I was joking with Steven. I was like, you got to turn the drums down. That's the worst thing to tell. That's like the dumbest crowd. Like, hey, I can't hear the singer. Can you tell the drummer to be more quiet? And you're like, no, it doesn't work like that.
I guess I'll play with my hands. You
Yeah.
know? Like, what do you want? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay, so like, but that's some like real deal like in it. Was he writing songs too?
He did end up writing a bunch of stuff, but again, because he's a drummer,
Right.
cared,
Right,
But
right.
we actually, me and him have been working on stuff recently,
Yeah?
and we're probably going to put it out next year.
Oh,
Finally.
that's gonna be sick.
Yeah, so
okay,
he's
put a
had
pin in.
tracks from like the 70s.
Put a pin in that. So your dad's bringing this like original like creative energy around, and like as a kid, it makes sense that piano and like drums are the thing you're gonna go to because gravity's with you. Like pluck,
Totally.
make sound. Guitar is like you're fighting the world because it's it makes no sense to just like I gotta but so that makes sense. That's where you started. Now like. Where did like your brother at that time, was he like more like into drum or guitars and like writing?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
he started with piano. Everyone in
Everyone
my family
started with
piano.
piano.
But then he jumped on a guitar. My grandma gave him my dad's old guitar without telling him.
Yeah.
And he started playing. I think he did a church gig with her, and then he just started listening to a bunch of Beatles stuff and John
Okay.
Lennon stuff, and like went on from there.
Yeah.
So just keep on going and going and writing just tons.
Yeah.
He's got this like chest of tapes.
Yeah.
Like hundreds and hundreds of tapes, probably thousands of tapes, and we've been transferring those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember talking to him and just he gave me like his discography once playing at Negative Space, like what was on CD at that time. And and like it's part of the practice with songwriting is just the numbers game. It's just doing it. But anyway, so like as that's going, like what's the music look like as a unit in the family? Is that like we're getting together and making sounds and having fun, or is just like
Never.
don't
Yeah.
go down that rabbit hole,
So
kid?
it was kind of don't go down that rabbit hole. Like
Yeah.
Alan would go off and he'd play his little show because we're like I think like 15 years apart, something
Okay.
like that. So he was getting ready to go to college. He's playing all over Kent and stuff. And my dad stopped playing out for a while there, but we would like get together at like family functions, and my two uncles would play guitars, and my aunt would play accordions, and I'd like get on a tiny piano
Yeah.
or something. So we'd play that way, but we never played together as a family until now.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
But watching him play and going to his shows and stuff, yeah, it ended up making me want to start playing guitar.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And did he show you anything?
He did.
Yeah?
He showed me all the chords. It was pretty funny. I was like learning on my own. I had like a little couple strings I was doing. He's like, here's all the chords. And one day, it was like we had like 20 minutes. He's getting ready to go to a show. And he's like, and here's F. And I couldn't do F. He's like, talk to me in 5 weeks when you figure out F. And he left. And so then I eventually learned the shit out of F.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
that one's so that drives me when I teach kids and they can play F or B minor right away,
Yeah.
and then they're like, I can't do the other thing. I'm like, holy shit, you just knocked out what most people give up on.
F's the hardest one.
F's
Because you
the
got to
hardest one.
hold two strings with one finger.
And it's at the biggest part of the neck.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, let's put a pin.
Yep.
Nate, let's get your guys' music story up till now. Like, so you're playing at Mike Night, but what got you behind? Was there music in the family, and like, did it get you? What
So-
got you to that stage?
I mean, my mom went to school for voice and piano.
Yeah.
And so growing up, she played at the church we went to, but I never like learned anything music wise from them at all. And I
Yeah.
ended up getting a small drum kit because I've always been just banging on stuff,
Right.
irritating them to no end. Because anything that could make a sound, it made a sound. And so eventually got my first drum kit up here, full set. It's actually the black kit that we have over here now.
Yeah.
We traded kits.
Yeah. What?
So he has my first set and I have his first set.
I think that means you're friends for life.
And
now.
then,
Yeah.
and then
That's
about
like
a
the
year
blood
later,
yeah.
at Making Music, they set me up with drum lessons with his dad. And so that's kind of how the connection got started. And then at Jam Night, we hooked up. And then, from there, ended up going to CSU,
Yep.
meeting you.
Yep.
And we did the Marauders for a little bit. And then between...
I bet you at the Marauders then.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So it would have
Yeah.
been Bella W gigs
Yes.
before CSU.
Yes. Yeah. We'll put it. I want to talk about Bell W. Put a pin
Yeah.
in that. Okay. So CSU. All right. The Marauders.
Yeah, and then, he had CIA, I had CSU, just kind of took a break.
You went to CIA. Okay.
I'm part of the government.
Oh, cool. All right. I thought I saw some.
I just don't
blinking-
talk about it too much.
Yeah. Well, your fucking keyboard's got floppy disk.
It does.
I knew you had secrets. I always knew it.
There's plenty more.
And so, we hooked back up in 2017, and now we're back
Hell yeah.
doing this, and just been on drums for the most part.
Yeah. And you brought cupcakes.
Yes.
You brought the cupcakes?
Yes, I brought the cupcakes.
Geez,
See, that's why.
controversy now. Shoot.
That's what I was saying. It was in 2012.
All right, let's get your story up
Oh
till now.
man.
So I met you
God.
through Bonnie Clyde, man.
Yeah. Back.
Where you
I
out of?
don't-
Where are you out of?
I'm out of Bay Village.
Bay Village. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I always
Born
thought-
and raised.
I always
Still
thought
live
like
there.
that crew was for some reason out by Leah or something. I don't know.
No, we're
Just functionally,
Functionally.
always seen out there.
But let's see. Did not grow up in a musical family whatsoever.
Yeah.
My parents liked music, and my mom
Yeah.
played a little piano, but like it was never like a thing that I was around or exposed to or anything. It was just something I came across myself and really wanted to, and I just so happen to have extremely supportive parents, so I have them
Yeah.
to thank for that. But yeah, it was just kind of like one of those things of like quiet kid finds thing he likes and wants to do.
Was it always bass?
It was surprisingly, yeah, it was sort of always bass. Like there was a very brief moment before I started learning anything that I wanted to play guitar,
Yeah.
and it was like me and my brother we're gonna like learn together, and like I was gonna play guitar and he was gonna play bass, and then we swapped before we even started learning, and then I got a bass and he got a guitar, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
stuck. And I like most people around, I play a little bit of everything, but yeah, it's been bass mostly for like the past I don't know, like 20 years. No, not quite 20 years.
But
Like
is
15
one-
plus.
Yeah.
You're
When you-
73 years old, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay.
I started around
Double
like
checking.
But what
50
so
something.
was there a what brought you into like music can be an expression that I'm like I want to do? Was there the record? Was there the guy? Was there the act of public indecency?
I would say around like high school age.
Yeah.
Like in grade school, I was obsessed with Zeppelin. Like any
Like any good grade school kid should be like.
And it was really and this is even more typical of like somebody my age, but like around high school, I like was introduced to Nirvana, and that was like the moment
Yeah.
of like, oh, somebody not so good can like write just like simpler songs,
Right.
and like express themselves. And that was my first like moment of realizing that like whatever was going on in my fucked up head could like be put out.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, you're kidding.
Aggressive.
Fuck. Oh, son.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, it was kind of that like pushed me to be like, oh, I could do original stuff,
Right.
and I don't have to just like play whatever's already out there, So that was kind of that watershed moment for me. And then a whole slew of shitty high school bands later.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I had gotten all my worst gigs out of the way. So
Like I think Nirvana's Unplugged concert is gonna be like a certain generation's Beatles, Ed Sullivan.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like what I'm interested in seeing is down the road what Twitch streamers. Twitch stream is going to be the replacement for that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because everyone's got there, and that's totally like. There's some things that are so potent, like, and so like, you can't not be inspired. Like, it's hard to not be moved by like that Unplugged concert or that Beatles performance. It doesn't matter generationally, but when you see it and that's your age, that's gonna like.
It's
hit.
probably Billie
Yeah.
Eilish.
Yeah. Well,
It's,
like
it's probably
could
gonna be here. Yeah.
I mean, Billie Eilish is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like, but what's going to be the next thing after that? 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
that'll
have
be
kids that are
interesting to
coming at
see.
to me with like, "Have you heard this Twitch guy?" I'm like, "No," and he's doing some crazy shit, and like I'm having to learn this Twitch dude, and like, which is cool.
Yeah.
But like,
That brings up a point that like I think the one thing that not the one thing, but one of the things that like really pisses me off anytime I hear it is anytime anybody like besmirches younger generations of musicians and like, oh, they're not good. It's like there's any generation is always going to have some massive amount of talent and probably the same percentage because that's just the way that things are. And you typically, the people that are outside of the scene aren't going to find out about it until like 10, 20 years on. Right. You know, so you just don't know. So saying something like that is like the most ignorant thing you could ever say. There's always talent out there.
For sure. And if anything, it's going to be better. Because you know how like
they
how
have
many times,
everything to learn from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had to break your Led Zeppelin record to play Black Dog. I just gotta look up Tom Twiddleton's YouTube channel, 60 best Zeppelics, tabbed out. He shows me how to play it.
When
Like,
he slows it down, it sounds good.
yeah. But because of that, the next like level up is gonna be more. The next accepted is going to be more top tier in a way. Like, and part of that I think is already with how music's like when like so much is like quantized and auto-tuned, right? And like, and those are all great tools, and those are all they fix certain things, but I think that's going to become the standard. So anything like that's
it already is.
Yeah, anything that falls short is like. But also not just because of the technology to record with, but also because of how easy it is to learn certain things. You know what I mean? Like just kind of like to build off what we're saying. Like I think that's going to play into the acceptability of what's good music. Is like, oh, you're 12 and you can't shred yet.
Yeah, the like the floor for like talent is so much higher
right
than it used to than it was when even we were kids, because you go on YouTube or TikTok and you just look up guitar player and everybody's just amazing, immaculate.
How many tab books did you guys have?
Enough.
Remember those song tab books?
Dude, yeah.
I had a shit ton.
Yeah, I had a handful. I admittedly was very bad at learning and practicing and still am to this day, which is why I'm not better than I am for how long I've been playing. But
I'd be like in a house full of like musicians. Was there like a dedication that was like noticeably like, oh, if I'm gonna do this is what I have to do?
Not so much. I mean, it was like we're paying for piano lessons, so you better play piano.
Right, right.
But everything else, it was like I didn't get guitar lessons and I didn't do drum lessons. Like it was a lesson enough just to like hear my dad play and like watch him play.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, after he'd like finish playing and he'd go upstairs, and I would like try to do exactly what he did, But guitar wise, I just kind of figured it out as much as I could. I didn't get tab books.
Yeah.
I went on ultimateguitar.com.
Hell yeah.
But then I'd write my own tabs because they didn't have tabs for Franz Ferdinand and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
Well, that stuff just came out. You know?
show off.
Nah. But the thing is, like, if you grow up seeing that, oh, that's just something Dad does. Like, why can't I do it? Like it's already like the mystique that it's a challenge is already kind of gone for you just because of being in the room with someone else doing it.
Yeah. And at the level that they're doing it too, which is a whole other kind of like weird conceptual part of it.
Did that has that ever been like a thing? Like a kind of like has there ever been like an ego thing?
I don't think so.
No?
Like because I started learning. Alan taught me what I learned on guitar, and then I just started to learn leads and stuff because it was something that I didn't know, and it was just me and Joe Reika going back and forth with each other, like who could be better, who could be faster, and just listening to the records over and over and over and over again. But at school too, it was just me and Joe for like 10 years. I never met another guitar player besides my brother.
Okay.
So there was nothing to go off of.
Right.
We were all just trying to help each other out. Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense, but you have a kind of a friendly competition going,
Yeah.
I remember me and my buddy Carl down the street were learning at the same time. We're like, oh, who can learn what,
Yeah.
And like it was all AC/DC shit,
That's where Joe was at. He'd go to his lesson and learn the lesson, and come back and show me.
Yeah. But that was the thing. Like, oh, what was that thing? I don't know. And then you go back because we didn't have like Spotify where you could just look up AC/DC's everything, which I'm kind of glad. That'd be overwhelming.
I think so too.
I think that'd be super overwhelming.
It is right now, anyways.
Yeah. But anyway, so like kind of let's walk it into the Marauders. Like, so you guys are playing in high school. Then when does that collision from the Mike Nights become? I have some of my own shit.
Well, I was playing in a punk band before that.
Which was?
They were called the Antics. It was me and my friend John Medvitz.
Okay.
And we were supposed to get a show, our
Yeah.
first show with the Hostile Amish.
Oh yeah, those guys are
Yeah.
still around, man.
We were gonna play. I think it wasn't Peabody's. It was maybe the
No.
Pirates Cove or Symposium.
Yeah.
Then they pulled the plug on it, so then we couldn't play for whatever reason. I think it was because we were so young.
And probably didn't sell enough tickets before you had the
it
bill.
was a guerrilla production
Yeah.
show. Yeah. And then I remember.
God, the best.
I remember I found that packet somewhere down here still.
I'm pretty
They-
sure I saw it
yeah.
over there like the other day.
Okay, so we didn't play that. We played people's house parties, and then we did play at the Jam and Java. Did you ever go there?
Yes.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
played a show there. We were too loud, and then John went his separate way, and I went mine. And I believe because he was in the first incarnation of the Marauders. It's me
Yeah.
and Joe, Patrick Hamilton, and John.
Yeah.
And then John went his separate way, and then me and Joe. I think I started playing with you after that because John was gone. That was what I think I was like 15, something like that.
Because that was probably around 2010.
I think so. Yeah, I think you were a senior in high school.
Like getting out of high school,
Yeah.
and then
So were you doing a band at the time, Nate?
no, I was
No?
just doing high school band.
Yeah.
And then
Wait, were you
lessons
in
with his
marching
dad.
band? In marching band and shit?
Yeah, marching
Okay,
band and all
okay.
that.
because
Yeah,
you had just moved from Maryland, so you didn't even know anybody.
yeah. Like I moved up here in
Oh, yeah?
05, 06. So like
Oh, okay. Where from in Maryland?
Westminster, Maryland. So just kind of like 40 minutes outside of Baltimore.
Okay. Cool.
So-
Cool.
Yeah, so hooking up with him, and that's the first time I like playing like original stuff,
Right.
and just like trying to be like, okay, not following another part,
Right.
And so, okay, how do I
Getting your
create
own
something?
voice, yeah. Was it in like? Was that kind of process easy at that point for you, or was that like with Alex's stuff? Sorry, like I'm trying
You're all
to
good.
keep
It
it.
just dawned on me. There's another part to this I forgot about. But
Yeah.
keep going.
But was it easy to do that from like kind of taking all these trained like ways? Some people, yeah.
It's taken me a while to get to that point. Like
Yeah.
I feel like now I've gotten way better with coming up with my own kind of stuff. Like hearing something and be like, okay, I like what those ideas. Let me try and like put my own spin on it.
Yeah.
versus
A lot of those early stuff, he'd have ideas being a drummer.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
We saw
like
my demo.
because he'd like, oh, this is kind of what I was thinking, and so I kind of would just go with that, and eventually probably put my own little, fills and stuff into it. But a lot of it was based
Gotcha.
off of what he had.
But that's kind of a more comfortable way to get into that. Now I think of it like, I mean, it's a little uncomfortable because you're like, oh, I want to make sure he Lex is happy with what I'm
Yeah.
playing. I gotta make sure. Fucking this is like a Dave Grohl situation.
And a lot of his guitar riffs lend into what the drum beat can be.
Right.
And so it's easy to pick up on that. And so
At that time too. Okay, so John left, and then my friend Dylan came in. Dylan Tokar played the drums, and that's how I met Joe Boda. Who
Okay.
played bass for us.
Yes.
So then eventually Dylan ended up exiting, but we recorded some demos and wrote some songs, and then those were the songs that I presented to you for the Marauders, plus stuff that I played drums on. And it was, I don't know, you had like a high standard to live up to, because I was like, you better play every single beat exactly how I played it. I was pretty ruthless.
Yeah. But it kind of makes sense seeing music be a serious thing growing up.
Yeah.
And like to be kind of in a scene that was like already like rough. You know what I mean? Like to kind of have that connotation that is like, you gotta fucking kick it. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
That
And
headspace.
coming from a punk space,
Right,
too, so
right.
like, everything has to hit,
So wait,
super hard.
when did punk become like your outlet? If you're growing up around like kind of like this bigger rock scene and your brother doing the folk thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When was like,
Probably around high school.
Yeah,
I'd
and who
say.
was it?
Yeah. Well, I liked 7 Seconds, and I liked
Yeah.
the Misfits, and
hell yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Black Flag,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like at the same time. So me and John had just gotten out of Catholic school, so it was like whatever we could do to rebel against Catholic school.
yeah.
I know that
So we,
feeling
like,
all
we had
too well.
vests and stuff.
Oh my
and,
God.
Yeah, it was wild.
Same thing for you?
Catholic school,
Yeah.
K through senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, because you went to St. Ed's too.
God, horrible. Just the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So musically, was Nirvana like the devil?
Yeah, I mean, like to
Like-
be fair, my family never took like
Right.
religion too seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
so I was like definitely, ironically blessed in that sense. But yeah, like there was definitely a certain feeling of like rebelliousness listening to music that was definitely made by somebody that didn't fucking believe in God, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know that like God is gay kind of
Yeah.
attitude, you know. So that was definitely freeing and definitely pushed me more towards where I was already going, which is like this shit is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
You know
it's-
how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So the punk thing's going, the punk mentality's going. You're going in with the like the Ian Mackay like kind of like do it yourself and
Totally,
like
yeah.
this is how it goes. You know, like there's that whole like structure with chaos, and then okay, so then Joe Boda's in. So it's the three of you guys at that point.
It was, I think it was all four of us because Joe Rank was always
Yep.
a part of it.
Yeah.
He was in the antics
Okay,
too,
oh, yeah.
on and off
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I just kept like carrying him with me. I was like, come on, man, let's go, you know? And I think, that's because I played with you just by myself for a while.
Yeah, it
Then
was
we
just
brought Joe in, and then we brought
yeah.
yeah,
'Cause
Joe
then-
and Joe.
Double Jow.
Well, to,
So-
to differentiate too, we called one Pete because he looked like Pete Townsend.
Wait. Which?
Joe Ranko.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm Joe Bob.
He does not look like Pete Townsend.
No.
He looks like Rico Suave.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's bring it up to where I met you guys at the Bella Dubby. So Bella Dubby, for anyone who's listening, is now Taco Tano's, which has pretty okay pierogi burritos, right, Hope?
Pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
we go. Yeah,
You
pretty
want
good.
to? You want to? No.
No.
Okay. But yeah, so now it's Taco Tano's, which is a great place, but I can't help but remember how it was a coffee bar shop
I know.
venue.
And like you always have to sit in the it was like a church pew.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I always want to sit in that corner because it's where
Right.
the PA system was. I don't have a drum stool, so I always sat on that stool right next to the PA
So-
and played.
How'd you guys get linked up there? Because you guys are kind of like already playing there when I played.
Yes.
Right?
So at that point, I had been playing with my brother. I think like I said, I was 16. So I started playing with my brother full time when I was there's heavy quotes full
Yes.
time when I was 16, and we played like all over Lakewood and Kent and Akron. So I was playing Bella W, and he's like, "You could get a show here," because he knew that I was writing stuff.
Right.
So I probably talked to somebody, and then we got the gig. And it was such a strange place to go to because I'd never been to Lakewood before, you know, and now I'm living basically over here.
Yeah.
So I walk over there every day, and Lakewood's so different now too.
It
It's like
is.
10 years difference, but yeah, I remember walking over there probably the week before the show to drop off posters with Joe Boda, and it was like some weird folk show. And it was just such a different space.
Yeah.
That space was so cool, you know.
It'd have anything.
Yeah,
it would have
yeah.
Fucking anything. Like anything was on the menu, like musically and like to drink. Like
Yeah. And you know, we shut that place down as
Yeah?
the Marauders too.
Yeah?
Like we're the reason that Bella W doesn't exist anymore.
Whoa. Okay. All right. So I forget how I had a gig there. I had a gig, and I think my band couldn't do it the first one, and I was by myself.
Yes.
And
yeah, you were by yourself.
I was by my fucking self, and I was trying to learn how to do the solo act.
Yeah.
You know.
You had 3 guitars,
I
and you
think
had
you-
your whammy, and you had you were like
Yeah. Did I
set
do
up.
that then? I think I
Yeah.
might have. Because now
Looping.
like now that's a much more refined act. But that was when I was trying to learn.
You had a bass with you.
That's
too.
right. I remember I was
Yeah.
looping the bass.
Yeah, that was
I sat
wild.
on. Yeah. You're like, this guy's fried. But I remember trying to do that then. Okay. Yeah. Holy shit. But
You
so
might have even played the first show that we played.
I remember because you guys played, and then I was like fucking blown away, and then I played there another time with you guys with
Yeah.
Gabe's band, Gabe Wolf, and it was the
Yeah.
Dakota War Dance.
Oh my
I think.
god, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then then we played with Out of Sight, but I don't remember what the other band's name
Oh,
was.
what was Out
I
of-
just remember
yeah.
Sean. Sean Brandt, that's what it was. I don't remember what the name of his band was. It was like this metalcore band, but
But the first time I saw you, I think you were on drums, or maybe
That was one of them. Yes,
Yes.
you couldn't make it, so then we went and played, and I played drums, and we were the
You-
Turkish babysitters in the Hunt for Tomorrow, but we were still the Marauders.
right,
but
right.
we
But
would
you were
just-
singing and playing drums. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit,
Jamaica
this
had
guy's
dress on.
incredible. And then the
Joe
next
Boda took
time
his shirt off.
you were there, like, and I can't remember if I was by myself or
Yeah.
with Gabe's
Always
band at the
by
time.
yourself.
Was it okay? Because I played there a few times with Gabe's band, and either way. So then the next time you're singing and playing guitar, I'm like, holy shit! Like, there's nothing Lex can't do. Like, what the fuck? I can't handle this at this age. Like,
It was wild. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, but yeah, like, and so that started like, and then like, I remember playing there a handful of other times. One time was opening for this band from Japan. God, I can't think of their name right now, but they're hilarious. They wore tiny yellow shorts.
Sounds like P-Lander
The
Z
Depasements.
almost. Yeah,
The Depasements.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like that, but like growing up to be
Totally,
that.
yeah.
They played at
Youngins.
Negative Space and did a bunch of shit with Johnny Haboo. Do
Oh,
you remember Johnny
yeah,
Haboo?
Totally.
Hell yeah, Johnny Haboo.
That's so funny. Shoot.
Yeah. Anyway, so getting into that space with you guys.
Yeah.
Let's get up there, because then I think stuff gets a little wild, right?
Yeah, I did. So, we were playing Bella W, and we were doing grillers like every single week on Wednesdays.
That was like the bar gig. the
Yeah,
covers
yeah.
And shit. Okay.
And we would just show it to the jam night, like, and we were underage going to the bars too.
Yeah,
So like people
same.
would pretend to be our dads that were watching
Yeah.
us, and we would like come in, and they would like be doing these long blues jams. I'd go in, I'd turn the amplifier all the way up, and then we would just like rip and
Yeah.
then leave.
Yeah.
Every single time. And then one time Joe couldn't get in. They kicked him out, and they didn't know who he was.
Which Joe?
Ryko.
Okay.
Joe Boda, they were like, "Oh, he's here all the time."
Yeah, he's
Joe Ryko,
fine.
we don't know you.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Every single
Yeah.
time he was playing, they're like, "Who?" Like, yeah, I was in the Marauders. Yeah, I bet you were, kid. Like, oh man.
We were all in the Marauders.
So then we went to college, and we were
Wait.
playing.
How did Bella W? How did you guys?
Oh
sit
my
down
God,
there?
I was,
okay,
I was
yeah.
going to say the
Let's-
same
sorry.
thing. I need to know this.
So
Yeah.
the Marshall that I'm lending you, I started playing out with that, and I turned that up
man.
all the way. And
Oh,
then the cops
no.
showed up because they had like terrible neighbors across the street that were always
Yeah.
calling in like, "This place is too loud."
Yeah.
And finally, I turned the Marshall up all the way. We're playing in Bella, and the police showed up. And they came in and were like, "That's it, it's over. You guys are done. Like, this is like the third like noise violation in a week." And so I was like, "Hooray!" And I'm not hooray. It was terrible,
But
but,
yeah, but-
we
but-
shut down Bella
Holy shit!
with the power of rock. Yeah.
With the power of rock. The next live album's gonna be Sorry Bella W. Like,
It should be. Yeah. From
But,
Taco Tano's Bella W with love.
yeah. But I think the guy owns the same building. Like, I don't think
so
he owns
too.
the company, but I
yeah,
think
he
owns
just
the
closed
building.
down
Yeah.
the coffee
But anyway,
shop.
all right. So going to college. Now with Bonnie Clydeman, that's where I saw you playing out. Like, what was that the first kind of like solid gig you had, or what led up to, like, was there any other solid bands?
That was the I played briefly in another band, but that was like my first like foray into my own original band. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
totally my band, but
Well, right, but like,
that was definitely like my first like solid band like around here. And the first time I like really like started like establishing myself in the scene and everything, and made a lot of connections. Obviously, like meeting these guys and you,
well, how'd
and,
you guys all meet?
We
how'd
played
you-
a show together.
Yes.
Yeah, at the 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, was
Yeah.
that one of the release shows, or what was?
I couldn't fucking tell you.
I
to
think
be
it's,
honest.
I think I met Bobby at the grog shop, and then I
Okay.
was like, we should play together.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
I don't know if we played a show together until I played in the band with you.
Oh no, we played before that.
Okay.
Cause I remember you coming on, and I was like, he fucking plays drums too, and he's amazing. Like, kind of blew my
Right?
mind. Yeah, I was
Like, what the fuck?
well, so that was at a time where we didn't have a drummer, so we were just swapping out a bunch of different drummers, and you were the only one to come on and just play. Just like we didn't like have to stop and like teach anything. You're just
No, yeah.
just played them all the way through, and it was like, what?
That was a magical practice too.
It
'Cause we
was-
only
it was
practiced the
wild.
one time before we played.
Yeah.
I
You,
think.
you played like 1 or 2 gigs with us.
Yeah,
I think.
2 gigs. One was at Coda, and one was at the.
And it didn't feel like
Yeah.
it just felt like we were practicing.
Totally.
It was
Yeah.
it was wild. That blew my mind. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
that was when I knew like it was just like like you were just like on another level of like musicianship, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, so when I got the call to like come play in this band, I was like, hell yeah.
So, okay, so after that, like I don't see you for a while until Cellophane Jane. So is that when stuff starts to get kind of crazy on your end?
I mean, I had a couple other bands
Yeah.
in between that time too. To summarize it real quick, I had the Marauders, then we kicked you out, and then we got another guy in, and then the band ended. Then I started the Pistolettes.
Oh, the Pistolettes. Yes, we played shows together.
We played
yes.
a couple. Yucca Tavern and stuff. So that was going. Pistolettes, I think, was about 4-ish years, maybe.
Yeah.
Didn't really do a whole lot. Like we played as much as we could, but just nobody cared. So then I was sick of the band. Everyone was sick of the band, so we called it quits. And then I was like, I got to get back to me and start playing songs for myself.
Right, but then you also did Leah,
Tom Catley's during that time, which was good because then I could focus on like it was somebody else's music. I didn't have to write anything. I didn't have to do. I just showed up and played guitar, or at that time it was playing bass.
Right.
So I just showed up and played bass, and then I could just like go home and work on my songs slowly and gather them together and try to figure out like, do I want like a Trent Reznor kind of band where I'm just like playing everything behind the scenes and then like hire people to come play live? You know, and I don't have a job, so I don't know what I'm doing. You know.
But so like well, kind of working with. How'd you meet Leah? How did that like
Love Fest?
Love Fest.
So we were doing Pistolettes, and she reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to play this show?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I got art too, so I met. I think I went down to Chardon Square and I met her there, and I was showing my art, and that was how I met her. And I was like, let's get you guys to come to Cleveland.
Right.
Because all they did was Chardon gigs.
Right.
They could not break out of Chardon. So I brought them down to Cleveland. And I'm trying to think where we played. I don't think she did the 5.
Was it Mahal's or something?
Yeah, I think it was. We did Mayhall's. We did Happy Dog.
Happy Dog.
We did the Grog Shop.
The first
we
time
did Beachland too.
Beachland?
Yeah.
Okay.
I took them all over the place. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Like I remember the first time I saw Leah, she was opening up for Beams at Mahal's with Michelle
I remember
Gaw.
that. Yeah.
And like and I was like, oh, that's cool. She's amazing. Gaw's amazing. These guys are amazing. They're from Canada. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. And then I played a barn show.
I remember the barn show,
yeah, with Mike's band, which wasn't All Is Harvest
at that time. Yeah,
at that time.
Now it's
Shebang. Yeah.
And I brought them to Cleveland as well.
Yeah.
Because they also couldn't break through. Same with Thick Kevin. All those bands,
that
they
was
didn't
that
have
same
connections.
night.
Yes.
Yeah, that blew my mind. That was such a well put together barn show.
Yeah.
And the barn was like high class.
It was
like,
cool.
It was the fucking coolest barn I've ever been in. Holy shit. But like everyone was amazing. I also met Postman that the Ellie that night. Like that was a wild, and that was it had its own bubble, and it was cool to break that bubble into our bubble here in Cleveland. But anyway.
It was cool because it's like they were working for so long, and not a single one of them could come down here. And I don't even know if maybe they just didn't even know.
Probably,
Because I remember trying to get a show out there. It was like, well, we got 2 bars. We got the wine bar, and then we got like the classic rock bar.
Right.
And if you play the classic rock bar, you're gonna play
classic
like
rock.
a cover show for 4 hours.
Right.
Which we used to do.
Right. And so like there's a fine line of when we used to do that, right? So it's like as a band, are you going to do that type of gig and work for money and like the solid like the work, or are you going to do like the original type of gig and like it's hard to do both ends of that. Like I've only seen one band kind of do that with Grav.
Totally,
right?
Yeah. We considered it a couple years ago. We thought about forming a cover band to go out and play like the islands and stuff. Because at that time we had like 2 singers, and we were like, we could do anything. You know? But
well, you know what? And I think it makes it easier to focus if you just do your thing and you accept we're going to play in this basement for the love of it, for no money, but because someone might hear it and book us somewhere else. You know, you get those different like success bars than you do with like a bar band.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think the level of like, if for lack of a better word, pride of like getting to those places is so much higher when you're doing it with your own stuff. Like, I got here on stuff that I made and wrote. And,
I totally agree with that.
It feels so much better.
Yeah.
Like with Sea Level, that's one thing. Like we get asked to do all these like bar gigs, and I'm like, I'll do them by myself because like I don't mind doing it like that.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to Cody and Pat's time. I feel like they play all these shitty shows like where we meet one dude who gets us some better gig somewhere else, and like it's worth it because of that. But I don't want to waste their time with the 4 hour like here's your $50,
Yeah, I get that.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so moving on from the Pistolettes and because that kind of goes into that crazy shit that happened with you goes into the concept of this record,
Yes.
which holy shit, this record's fucking amazing.
It's pretty wild.
This you don't have to respond to it, but this
Okay.
is a fucking masterpiece.
Don't brag about
this
it. No.
this
Close your
I
eyes.
know you've been working on it for a minute.
Yes.
And like I remember hearing behind the scenes about how like complicated some of these arrangements were.
Oh, yeah.
But like when I heard the final thing, I was like, this is next level. Like I was showing it to Hope, and like it's hard to like even like kind of conceptualize. These are my friends, and this is a local band.
Yeah.
Like this record is that good.
Well, thank you.
Like,
Yeah.
but to kind of lead into where that's going, like, it got fucking crazy on your end. Because
It
I remember
did.
you telling me this while we're setting up for that video shoot. I'm like, what the?
What are you
fuck?
talking about, dude? So, the first week of college, and I was still in the Marauders at this point. I went to school and everything was. I just got moved in. Everything's cool. And then Saturday I came home, and that night I got in a car accident. And somebody had like T-boned me on the side street, and I had the right of way, and they jumped out of their car. Well, they didn't jump out of their car. I jumped. I had to kick my car door open because
Holy
it was like
shit. Yeah.
pushed closed, so it was
Yeah.
kind of dented. Kicked the car. I hit my head against the window. I kicked the car door open, and I went. It was raining, of course, too. It looks
Right.
just like a movie,
Yeah.
Opened the car door, walked up to the guy's truck, and was like, "Are you okay, dude?" And he goes, "You hit me," and then he just guns it away.
Fuck.
I was like, "Seriously, dude?"
Yeah.
So
Well, and you're being considerate. You know, you're
extremely,
asking-
yeah. I was just like, "Come on!" And I saw he had all these kids in the car, and it turned into like this big ordeal. And
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the guy. I mean, we ended up going through like a court thing, and
Yeah.
whatever, but
You don't have to get into
I don't
that,
know
but-
what happened to the dude.
Yeah.
So after that, things just started getting kind of weird because I started to get really panicky. I got some PTSD stuff with like
Yeah.
driving in the rain
Right.
and just driving, period.
Yeah.
But then I started to like slowly forget everything before I was 17,
Yeah.
which was really just like weird,
Right.
Because like
Yeah.
I had a pretty good memory, I thought, at some point,
Yeah.
But couldn't remember when I first started playing guitar. Couldn't remember drums or anything I did in high school or anybody that I knew before. And family
Yeah.
members,
Yeah.
So it was just like I'd like meet these people, and I didn't know how to talk about it, so like I would just have to pretend that oh yeah, I know you, but I had
Yeah.
no fucking clue, even though I'd like grown up
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So going through college, and it was a slow onset for that too, and it turns out that I did have some brain damage because I had like a concussion and stuff,
Right.
and it evolved into what was the other thing that happened? I was like the Fonz. I had dyslexia, and I couldn't. It was like just onset. So
Huh.
I used to be like an honor student, AP,
Yeah.
and like I would tutor kids in English, and then I couldn't even write a sentence.
Huh. Yeah.
I couldn't read anymore.
Yeah.
It was just getting really weird. And I was
Yeah.
just like everything I knew just instantly flipped. And I think you can attest to, I had a super big ego when we first started playing together. And like I was telling, like you have to play it exactly like this. And I was
Yeah.
kind of like just like
Yeah.
whipping. At that point, I just lost all that because I had nothing,
Right.
So I had to just rebuild and start over. Going to school and then for art,
Yeah.
for illustration, and then I couldn't even draw anymore.
Yeah.
I started getting these weird like pains in my hands, and I would like drop the pencil, drop the brush, and I couldn't even pick up a piece of paper. So I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like a tendonitis, but eventually devolved into being sick for an entire year. And from that sickness, I guess, was triggered when I hit my head. Sometimes people, they have autoimmune diseases that are just kind of waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So if you hit your head or you have some kind of traumatic event, it'll trigger that. So it triggered this thyroid condition that was undiagnosed for a while. Started getting even sicker. I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I'd have to like sit. I thought about getting a cane.
Yeah.
And I was like sleeping for 18 hours a day. And then finally I got diagnosed, took this medicine, and I was like, fine.
Yeah.
It took like 2 days. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you're cool now. Still couldn't draw. So then I had to get hand surgery. And as
Yeah.
an illustrator, and guitarist and drummer,
Yeah.
like you get hand surgery, like you're screwed,
Right.
Got
Well-
the surgery. They said it was going to fix it. Didn't fix
Wait,
anything.
what hand and like
It was my right hand,
and
which
what
is
was
my
the
dominant
surgery?
hand.
Yeah.
It was for something called de Quervain's.
Okay.
tenosynovitis, which is
Okay.
just basically trigger finger for your thumb. So they go in there, they cut your wrist open, and they
Ugh.
take out some kind of
Yeah.
sheaths or something like that. Well, I had a couple extra sheaths.
Huh.
So they were like, maybe that was part of it, but then I healed, and I didn't heal, and it just kept on going. And they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's not the problem, because I was going to get it done with both hands.
Right.
So I just had to kind of go through therapy. Went through some terrible people that were like, you'll never play again. You'll never
Yeah.
draw again. Like, you might as well just give up and start working at Walmart.
Cool.
You know?
Thanks.
I was like, cool. Okay. And that was a whole other aspect of it, too. Like, having to face down, okay, I'll never be creative again.
Yeah.
Although that's not to say, people can be creative in their minds and stuff. I'll never, create things again. I'll never play music anymore. I'll never draw or whatever. And people talk, I've always heard people talk about, like, if I could never do that again, like,
Yeah.
I would, like, kill myself or whatever.
Right.
I faced it.
Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah.
It was a real thing. And then finally I met a therapist that was like, we'll get you going. Don't worry about it. We're
Yeah.
gonna make it happen. And it worked out okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird to be able to to finally, like, have that mindset of, like, okay, I'm never gonna do this anymore, and then you're committed to it and you're ready for it, and then they can just kind of, no, it's not done. You're not done. We're gonna take
Yeah.
it somewhere else. So I got therapy done.
And that was like talk therapy, right? Not like
no,
physical?
it was physical therapy.
Okay,
Yeah, I
all
had to
right.
do all these crazy kinds of stretches and exercises, and they were just trying to figure out, like, what is the source of all of
Right.
this, And the thyroid didn't seem like it was all of it, and they still don't really know.
Yeah.
Like, I have tendonitis in every single joint, and
Fuck.
it's like some days are better than other days, you
Yeah.
know, and I still got problems. But it's not like it was before.
Yeah.
you
So like
know?
when you're doing all these, like, what are you doing? Are you doing like hand stretches? Are you doing like weight things? Like
Yeah,
what are
there
like,
was weight things. A lot of it is just kind of like trying to limber the joints. So there's
Yeah.
a couple times when I first started on stage, after the surgeries, I couldn't play guitar for a while, because I couldn't bend my hand right and
Right.
hit my wrist for strumming. So I started playing piano.
Mm.
So I wrote the song. It's on the new record called "Dancing with the Queer Veins." That was kind of like therapy to get my hands back to working again.
Right.
So I wrote the most difficult thing I could on piano. And I was like, I gotta
Want
just
to talk
keep
about it, Nate?
playing it over, playing it over and over and over and over
Yeah.
and over again. Ironically, that was the first song that I showed to Nate when
Yeah.
I was ready to start playing with Cellophane Jane as a live band.
So okay.
yeah.
I don't want to derail
no,
where
we're
this
good.
is going.
We'll pin it.
But put it in that song in particular, like when going through the record, I'm like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like it's like at the end of that song, I'm like, holy, this is like what Queen would do. Like the harmonies are like, I've never heard anyone be able to pull that type of shit off. And like I get the joy of listening to a bunch of people putting music out all the time. Like I don't get to listen to stuff I want to really. I have homework of listening to
Yeah.
people putting shit out, which is awesome. But like out of all these people I'm listening to, no one comes close to doing something like that. And like that was like, oh, this is a fucking masterpiece. This whole record. Anyway, but
Thank
like,
you. Yeah.
and I remember you talking about that during that video shoot we did.
Yes. Yeah.
So you go through these like this PT, right?
Yeah.
And like, how long does it take to start noticing? And you're taking meds for thyroids.
yeah.
Okay. So like, what it was like a hormone meds for that, or is it like
It's like I guess it's actually like a pig thyroid or something
Huh.
like that they were able to grind up, and they turned that into a medicine that somehow that chemically connects with you and regulates you back
Huh.
to where you're supposed to be. Now I'm hypothyroid, which means that mine is slower than it should be, versus hyperthyroid, which would mean
is
like
faster.
everyone, faster.
Yeah.
And that it does different things to different people. Mine like I got super brain fog.
yeah.
It also screwed with my memory
Yeah.
and just extreme fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope, do you want to chime in on that at all?
Probably 2 months ago, I got diagnosed with hypothyroidism.
Yeah.
And like I think it got triggered by I went through this like the most extreme bout of anxiety that I ever had, like happened in the middle of the pandemic. And about a year after that, that's when I got diagnosed with this. And I just started the hormones
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. It takes a while too, because you gotta like try different doses and stuff. And I remember
And also, I'm shit at remembering to take them. Like, it's
Yeah.
bad.
yeah. I go days sometimes I don't take it, and then I like remember because I start to feel kind of depressed.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
Like, oh shoot! Like,
Fuck.
that's why I got this problem.
Yeah. I'm allowed to curse on
For
here,
sure,
but
yeah.
like the past like week has been like really spotty. And then like this whole weekend I've been dealing with like again like the anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck.
You know,
Like
when you first start taking it, you don't really realize that it's doing a whole lot either, and that's what's like weird. So then you start taking it again, and you're like, I just don't know if it's working, but like it is. It really is.
Well,
And,
I think that's important, for people to like kind of hear and be aware of, because it's like it's crazy that it does that much,
It really does, and I think the other bummer for it too is there's so many people that suffer from it. They don't realize it,
What was the other name of it?
Hashimoto's.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffer from it and they don't even realize it, And
Yeah.
It's a great name.
it is.
I love the name.
It mostly, from the studies that I've read, it mostly affects women, but I think that the part of it is they're just not detecting it for guys either because they're not testing for it, And it's such a drag.
Yeah.
It's
I didn't realize like
manageable,
how much it affects me.
really,
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
The fatigue is real.
Oh my God, I know. Like, even today, this morning, I was like, I did take a nap today. I don't nap, but it just gets you.
Oh, we should have too. We were up to 3 a.m. because of that show he did. Because after they got done playing, it became a rave. But all the gear was in there. All the gear was in the fucking garage.
That happened to us on Friday too.
And they're all pro public transit. So guess who drove? Me. Guess who had to take all the gear home? Also me.
And you couldn't get any of it out
Because there was a rave, and I would have done it either way. I'm not upset by that at all. But RTA that no. but okay. So as you're doing the PT and you're like you're medicating for it and like learning how to like kind of get back into it and it just slowly you build up these piano chops and like
totally. I mean, because I stopped playing piano in 7th grade or something like that.
Yeah.
And every once in a while I pick it back up again and stop. And I started this project. It was Queen 2. I would just record all of Queen 2. So I would like start playing and figure out parts to it. I think I have like maybe 7 of the tracks recorded right now. But it's been like probably a 10-year project right now. And so like I'll start playing it and then I'll get to a point where it's like I'm not good enough. And so then a couple of years later I'll come back to it and be like, okay, I'm good now. So that was the newest installment for Queen 2. So I started playing a bunch of Freddie stuff.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. But went through that. Was still playing with Pistolets at that time. We brought Joe Rika into the band to help because I couldn't play guitar anymore, which is like truly devastating, for me and for everybody else because I was lead guitar player and lead singer. So what are we gonna do? So I'm playing piano. We were in the middle of recording the record too. Got through that. It was weird too. Imagine going to a show and you can't bring your amplifier. Like you can't physically pick it up.
Right.
Well,
just to kind of have that like acceptance of okay, I can't do this today. I need someone to do it for me at that age. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
the thing.
this, it's different when you're like 80, whatever. Like you kind of like I've been around there. You've grown into that maturity, but to jump into that and just to jump into the headspace of like I can not do this anymore. Oh, I can do this. You know what I mean? Like
it's weird to
that's
flick
a
that
weird,
too. The throttle.
emotional roller coaster. And like so, I think that's like insanely inspiring to be able to get to that point. Pull the homies together, get through it. And be okay with that. Because there's so much ego that goes into like when you track something like, no, it's not perfect. Let me do it again. You know what I mean? Like we're like that's just
and there was a couple moments of that, while we were working on the record, but a lot of it was just like, I can't do these guitar solos, Morgan, you have to do it. I can't play this piano lick just like because Morgan Copper was also playing guitar with me, the Pistolets at the time. I couldn't do it; he could do it, so he would just like get on there and just do a tiny little line. And it's like I'm gonna be able to do this. I just can't do it right now. I wrote it. You can do it. That's good enough for me. I don't care. So, towards the end of that band, I started feeling a lot better. And we were playing out all the time. Things were great. So
and that's when you're playing with Leah too, right?
So Leah started right after that.
Okay.
So Pistolets ended. And I started writing the first Cellophane Jane record.
Okay.
And then I started playing with Leah at that point.
Okay. So Cellophane Jane was almost just kind of like part of this like kind of like PT music for yourself?
Kind of. I would say that, like, at least specifically for Dancing with the Queer Veins, that
Yeah.
was just the holdover from that time. Because I wrote
Gotcha.
it during the Pistolettes, and, like, everyone was like, we can't play that. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
I'll save it for my solo record. Doing Cellophane Jane at that point was more so a means to get back to, I've got all these songs.
Yeah.
I probably had a back catalog at that time of like 375 songs. And
But who's counting?
this guy. So we just couldn't get through the stuff quick
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
We had another EP that we planned, but the record took 4 years to make.
Right.
And the EP was taking, it looked like it was probably going to take another 3. So I was
Yeah.
like, I want to make something. I want to do something. So I sat down. It was, I think it was like right after my birthday. I decided, I'm going to make the record. And so it was before the first week of May. I perfectly set it out. So I had 7 days. So I went downstairs with no ideas, wrote all the tracks, recorded it, mixed
Yeah.
it, mastered it, and was done, and put it out and came up with the band name and the logo
Yeah.
on May 1st and released it.
Done.
1 week. Got it all done.
What'd you do last week?
But he didn't stop.
Well, that was the thing. The first cellophane like CD release was five at the 5. He put out 5 records at the 5 o'clock. I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, because that was like King Gizzard had just come out, and they were putting out a couple records at that time, and I was like, well, I could do more than one record. It was
right.
So I worked on 5 different records, got through all of that over the course of 1 year. Put out 5 records, but then you came in during the recording of the 4th one, I think.
Yeah, you were working on Garbage Harbor
Yes.
Yeah.
when we got back together and started working on it. And so you were just, I don't know, probably in the last couple weeks of that.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and that was misery. I don't remember it, surprisingly, because Lindsay tells me all the time, like, don't even think about that record because it'll bring you down. And we had just had a Marauders reunion, and that's how we started playing together again.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what even caused it. It's just everyone was together.
I think, I want to say you, it was either you, I don't think Joe Boda hit me up about doing the Sandtrope.
Would have been Joe Reike, probably. Yeah.
And they were just like, hey, are you down to do like a little reunion?
You know what it was? It was your recital for school. You did your final thing, and I saw that you were posting about it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I watched it with my dad, and then I reached out to you after that. And then I was slowly talking to you again, and I was like, oh, we're going to go to the Sam Trap. Everyone's coming. So then you showed up, and that was the first time I seen you in probably like
It had been,
7 years or something.
Yeah.
well, I think I want to say 4, because I want to say 2013 is when we, like 2012, 2013
That's right,
is
it
when
was
we
4.
stopped Marauders.
Yeah.
And then 2017 is the year I think all those got put out. And so
Yes.
that's when we got.
Yeah. So we did this little reunion show, and then it was like, oh, cool. And then we were thinking about jamming together again. And me and Nate got together, and nobody else showed up. So it was like, okay, cool. I got this other band I'm working
Yeah.
on.
So
Here's
that-
all 4 records that we've been working on.
I just got to butt in. It's because of those first like 4 records that until I joined this band, I thought you guys had been a band for like 10 years.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Because
I was totally convinced.
it's all just me on all
Yeah.
of those records.
Yeah.
My
No,
dad,
this is the first one with me on it.
That's so funny.
my dad played drums on one track on Garbage Harbor. That was the only guest spot that I had for anybody. But it was just me recording everything by myself because I used to do all these demos, and I was like, well, the demos are good enough to put
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Might as well just put out the demos.
I wish more people thought that way. I think a lot of people get like way too involved in like perfecting every single thing.
But I think
And then-
that kind of goes back to what we're saying. The medium now is like
yeah.
you have to be fucking perfect.
Well,
or,
yeah, and
I
I think it's going to take getting back to those basics of just fucking record it and put
Right,
it out
right.
because like the best thing you can do for yourself is just keep producing
right.
and like just keep putting yourself out there and like being like throwing stuff in people's faces because at some point you're going to get some measure of success unless you're not putting anything out.
Well, perseverance is going to equal success no matter what.
Yeah, it's like gone are the days of like dropping a song and then like blowing up because it just doesn't work that way except for a lucky few whose songs blow up on TikTok. Yeah, but like you can't manufacture that.
No,
You can. Like it's an algorithm and it's having a fucking funny ass.
Let me
thing.
show you.
You possibly
Let me show
can,
you.
but
Here we
like,
go. Get
yeah.
on the kit.
Yeah.
It's gonna be called the puppy jiggle, and it's gonna fucking work.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I'm sure. Yeah, you could do something silly, but like
Yeah,
if you're making like your serious music,
yeah.
that's not how it works anymore.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. But anyway, so like not to brush it up, but I totally agree with
No,
that.
I just
and
had
the
to make
kind
that
of
point,
bounce.
yeah.
No, I like the bounce into that. Like Garbage Harbor is a very unique record out of everything I listened to that you've
Super
put
dark.
out.
Yeah.
But what was it like? Was that the first time you recorded something with your dad? And
Well,
what was that
we were working
like?
on his record a while ago, and
The one you were talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like we're constantly in a state of re-recording that record.
Oh boy.
So we had recorded
boy.
that. Yeah, Nate knows this all too well. We'd recorded that track. He came downstairs and I said, "Here's the deal, man. So I want you to play for 67 seconds, and I want you to play like the most insane like." Avant-garde jazz drums, And
Yeah.
so he's like, okay, I've got 3 different drummers, and I'm going to do this. I was like, okay, cool. So I set the kit up, and he just went to town. And as soon as it was done, I was like, stop. Did 3 times. I said, okay, cool. And I took the track, and then I wrote on top of that,
Okay.
which was just wild too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like some of the stuff his dad's doing, I'm just
checks
like,
out.
what?
Like that's a weird. There's weird bits on that record. Okay.
Yeah, so that one
Got
was
it.
like that. Now, Garbage Harbor, the actual track, was crazy because I wrote it. A lot of these Cellophane Jane tracks, too, like there's a song on Dandy Boho called Mazarin, and I wrote that, and I did the demo for it when I was like 15 or something
Yeah.
like that, and I recorded that, and that's the drums. So I went back and recorded on top of that. So I would do stuff like that. I
Yeah,
would pull tracks that I
okay.
recorded a long time ago and record back on top of it, so it's like this really long span of
Time
time.
capsule. Yeah.
Totally.
That's very cool.
So for Garbage Harbor, I wrote the track when I was, I think I was like 13 or something like that, and rewrote it, parts of it with, I think you played it a long time ago. It was a track that I wrote with Dylan and Joe, and then I showed it to you, and I was like, I don't know what we're going to do with this. Because it was just called Dylan's Song for a long time. And I recorded that, and then the middle part didn't work out, so I slowed it down on tape and went back and did some other things. So I started experimenting with some weird stuff on that. One of the best things I think too, like if you like that brown box that's behind you, it's this thing that we
This
took.
is
We
a
took
Vox amp, right?
Yes, we
Yeah,
took
yeah.
a Vox amplifier and put it in this brown box, and now it's like a preamp. And I
Ah.
like taking
Oh,
weird
yeah.
equipment
Yeah,
that isn't supposed to do what I'm using it for. Like I got this 4-track that just did not work, but you plug your guitar into it and turn it up all the way. And now it's this cool fuzz unit. You
Yeah.
know? So it was experimenting with a ton of stuff like that and drum machines. Got through the record, and then we started playing during Garbage Harbor. But we were like working on slow stuff because I was convinced by Ellie from Thick Heaven at the time do you want to start playing out? Like
Yeah.
you should be doing
Yeah.
this. I was like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's been so long. It was only like a year.
Yeah, but
So I started playing out. Ellie joined me. Nate joined me, and
Ellie on bass, right?
Yes, Ellie on bass.
Okay.
And we got Randall on guitar at that point. Randall was from Sam Fox.
Yeah. Oh, Randall.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Randy.
Randy.
So we started playing out, and then that was the band that we did 5x5 with. And then I never wanted to play live, but now we're stuck playing live.
Yeah. So okay, so like with that, were you always into like? I mean, aside from like tinkering with like this isn't supposed to do that, but I like how it does that. As far as like production and recording and learning all that stuff. Now, was that like seeing people do that, or like what kind? Because you have a very specific way of producing and like kind of sound engineering a band.
Totally.
And I know that from Mike's being
Yeah.
with Mike and playing with Mike and recording on his stuff.
Yeah.
So what kind of like was that part of like maybe the Pistolettes like
Even
having
before
other,
that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I got a 4-track, I think, when I had cassettes that I used to
I
record
had a
on.
4-track too.
Yeah.
That's why I started tracking with.
And I got a 4-track, I think, for
It
Christmas.
looked like this actually.
Oh, really?
It kind of it
Mine-
opened up.
Mine, I think it might be hiding under there somewhere.
Yeah.
I might have given it to Aaron.
I always wanted one as a kid, and they were always out of my
They
price
were
range.
stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And now they're even more expensive.
Right.
Yep.
And it's like, it's tape, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I remember going to Guitar Center and being like, I need another recording tape, and they're like, yeah, we don't have that
Don't
anymore.
make them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
You had a better chance of finding them at Target.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
In
Anyway,
the vintage aisle.
So you had your 4-track.
Got the 4-track, started recording with that, and I was recording when we were doing the antics stuff, and we were just like, there was no microphones, so you'd put it in a certain spot in the room, and then you lean over the tape and just start screaming into it. But the first time I actually recorded something was I was working on my brother's record. He, for whatever reason, couldn't record with whoever he was recording with before and was like, let's give you a shot. You've
Yeah.
been trying out GarageBand, and let's see what happens. So it worked, and we recorded his record Up, Up, Down, Down, Left, Right, BA, Start.
Which is
what does that
what
do?
what cheat code's
That's
that?
I feel like such
That's
an
got to be
idiot.
like
I don't know what it's
something for
for.
PlayStation.
THPS?
It's either for Contra, I think,
Classy.
something like that on the
Yeah.
NES.
Oh, that's even classier.
Yeah, it could have been Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu, but I'm pretty sure it was Contra. So
What a
we-
good show.
we recorded that, and that was like my first foray. And then right after that, I got into the Pistolettes and was recording the Pistolettes, and did another record for Alan. So it was just like slowly like starting to build up recording for other people. And funny enough, for that first Cellophane Jane record, I went back to the tape machine. So it was just like, you got to start
Yeah.
somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, back to the basics. That
Yeah.
was the whole idea.
But still, so starting with that, like, what was your, were you going, like, I guess re-recording a fucking Queen record forever would kind of have you thinking that way and start to,
Totally,
you know,
yeah. Well, I
like-
mean, because Alan was always recording with our friend Charlie Loudon.
okay.
And then when I was recording with Alan, we would go to Charlie's house. So I got to see like how they would track and like how we would be overdubbing
Yeah.
and doubling different things. And Alan like sometimes will quadruple track his vocals.
Yeah.
Or his acoustics and stuff. So I started learning those kinds of different things that you could
okay.
do.
Yeah.
But then it's also like I was told like don't do this, don't plug your guitar straight in and do it. Well, I'm going to do it. Why not?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, let's
yeah.
see what happens.
Punk rock!
Yeah,
Ah!
exactly.
Every rule is made to be broken, especially in the studio.
Yes.
What is it? So that's super interesting because like I've always I've always spent so long trying to write the thing and get the group ready, and I'm envious of someone who can do the whole bit and not lose their mind doing it and be able to do it with their own. Like I'm like I get to the point where I'm like I just need someone to know if it's out of phase or not, and like
For
you know what I
sure,
mean?
yeah.
So I very much envy the ability to record and do it all your own and like have put in that time to get that skill set down.
Yeah. Well,
and like.
a big part of it too was there was a whole year where I couldn't do anything because I was basically
that's what I
disabled.
was-
So I
yeah,
had
yeah.
that time to sit down and like I think I made a schedule for myself where I woke up at like 5 every morning and I would like look up videos on recording and mic techniques and stuff and I would just like watch that every day.
Yeah.
I was like,
Can you run? What was that whole schedule like? When you were like, was this right when you started to do the PT and the guy was like,
Yeah.
"We're gonna get you better."
yeah. So I think I'd wake up at 5. I'd do some piano exercises. I'd
Okay.
go on a bike ride, and then
Okay.
I would just sit down and like learn recording exercises for probably like 3 or 4 hours and take
Okay.
a break. And then I would try and play some guitar for maybe like an hour or two,
Okay.
and then go back to recording and just be mixing nonstop for
Okay.
months.
Okay,
So I think in that span of time, that's when I really learned how to do
okay,
all
but that
the
makes
mixing
sense
stuff,
because
yeah.
like you can, as a musician, you
forget
can
about
figure
that.
it out, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just having that time to do it.
Totally.
And I imagine that discipline, like, and maybe put it in a structure where it's brand new, and you can do it with other people.
Yeah.
Like, were you working with Mike's stuff at that time too? As part of no? Okay,
No,
this is
yeah,
all just
it was
cellophane.
all just no. Well, that was all Pistolettes. So
Okay.
Morgan would come over every once in a while and we'd work on stuff, but mostly it was like we already laid down all the backing tracks, and now I'm just experimenting for
Okay.
months and months and months, which is probably why the record took so long to make.
Right, but I think there's nothing wrong if it takes forever to make. You know what I mean? Like
As long as it sounds good at the end.
as long
you
as it
know?
sounds good at the end and you're happy with it, you
Yeah.
know. Like there's like to kind of go back to what you were saying, like there's like this kind of spiel of just putting stuff out too. So there is a lot of people, you know what I mean, like on both ends. Like I remember talking with some other local guy who's like, yeah, I just put out whatever because it's all a numbers game. So you have this huge catalog of just like random shit and like something you really put time into, but it just gets thrown in that river of just like random shit, you know. So there is kind of like there is a weird world we live in where it's like super perfected and thrown out, and then there's this weird world where it's just put out too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like we've all been through the ringer of like just spending like months or even years on a project, be it like an EP or even a single song.
Yeah.
And then you put it out there and 5 people listen to it and you're
Right.
like, that's it. that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did I do that? You know, like I feel like typically like a week or two into like
Yeah.
working on a song, like it's as good as it's gonna be, and then you're just tweaking little things from there. I mean, obviously that's not like the same for everything. Some things take a little longer than others, but my point is, don't take too long.
Sure.
It's just
no, definitely.
you're just hurting yourself at the end of the day.
Can
And,
can
like-
I ask, and from everybody, what's the one most nitpicky thing that you've went back and forth that was so minute that as a musician you'll get it? You're like, oh, that fucking fill. Oh, that fucking whatever. But you show it to someone else and they're like, yeah, I don't know, it's fine. Like, I had one recently. It involves Leah. Like, we recorded it. Sea Level recorded a track with basically the Dreamcatchers.
Yeah.
Right. And I had a guy master it, and he gave me 2 masters. And I was like, "Why would you do that to me right now? I'm trying to put this out."
Yeah.
And he gave me one with verb and one without verb. And like, we had this show at Negative Space, and I grabbed Leah and Gotti. I was like, "I need your opinions. Hang out in my van." And then Josh was walking by, like, "Josh, come in." And they're in my van, and I'm showing them, take 1, no verb. Take 2 with verb. Take 1, no verb. I'm like, "What do I do?" And like, Leah was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then Gotti's like, "I don't hear a difference." You know, like,
they both sound the same. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah. It's
I
like,
hate
That's
that.
not what I want.
so
Be discerning.
I went with no verb. No verb.
That's the
is
way to
what we
go,
did.
yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, what was like a most recent or most like prominent version of that? You got one? I feel like you got
what
one.
you
It's-
got?
Look, that's on the tip of the tongue.
It's always vocals for me.
Yeah.
Because I got a little like solo side project that I
Plug
do
it.
sometimes. Cleveland Stevens. It's
Hell yeah.
not like anything that we do. But I go. I mean, because that's all like recorded and produced and mixed
Yeah.
by myself. Usually, I actually had my last song mixed by my very good buddy Tuck Mindrum.
Oh yeah.
Much love to Tuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was his birthday 2 days ago. So,
Shouts out. Happy birthday.
Yeah. But that's the type of thing where like
Right.
I get like so nitpicky if I don't like finish it in like a week or a month or something. It's taken me months. And this particular song,
Damn.
I started
okay.
like 2 years ago, and I would like
Yeah.
work on it, put it away.
Yeah.
Maybe work on it a couple months later and put it away. So it wasn't a constant thing, but it was just like every time I'd hit this point where I was like,
Yeah.
I hate it. It sucks, and I'm not gonna put it out. And then I'd come back to it. So it's like, for me, yeah, like hearing my vocals over and over again is just like,
Yeah.
that little thing is not right. And any
Yeah.
other person would listen to it. And be like,
I
"It's
obsess
fine."
over that shit too.
Yeah.
Especially vocals.
Yeah. It got to the point with that song where I was just like,
Done.
I'm putting it out.
I think for
Gotcha.
me, I really like to try and get everything done in like a solid take, versus like doing it and maybe piecing from different takes into
Right,
it.
right.
And so like I try and get it solid all the way through. But I've tried to like just sit back and be like, all right, that can be. I got it great in another take. Like
Yeah.
some of the fills, like as long as I can get them good,
Right.
and then we can get that spiced in.
Do you play to a click?
Are
Are you a click guy?
I'm not.
Alex
Yeah.
is shaking his head. Nope.
I don't think either of us are, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
it's so fucking
I'm
hard.
shirking the click recently myself. It just doesn't.
I don't need to be
It doesn't
perfect,
sound
Like
good.
it's just
Yeah.
gotta sound good.
Well, we tried to do that with the Wigged Out song we recorded recently, and it was just like Eric really wanted to do it to a click, which I get because he plays to a click really well. But we were trying to track this as a full band, and I was like, the only way that we're going to do this right is if we just shirk the click and we just play it, and we get
Yeah.
one really solid take, and then we just overdub everything other than the drums. And I was like,
You can notice, like, when you listen to old records, like, the tempo
Sorry, control.
changes. You know what I mean? Like, in old tracks. Anyway, keep going. So you go for the solid take that's acceptable all the way through.
Yeah, like I try and get it as perfect as I can.
Yeah.
There were some of these songs on this record we did
Which
at
one?
least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
Oh, particularly Ballad.
Yeah.
Ballad was definitely
last
one.
track.
Yeah, the very
yeah.
last track. We definitely would play through it a good chunk because there's a fill at the very end, and so
Yeah.
we nail everything and we get to that fill, and inevitably stick would hit something, fall out of my hands,
Yeah.
and it's like at the very end of the song. Some of them we did in one take.
Yeah? Like what?
Fly in the Bush.
That
Yeah?
one was perfect.
Like
That was
first
sick.
take, we
super
looked at each
catchy.
other. We're like, I would think that's it. We did a second take, and we're like, yeah, the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was
but-
that one more played live?
I don't think so,
Okay.
to be honest with you. I mean, that was an old Pistolette song, which was actually an old Marauders song.
Well, maybe there was played for years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know that you ever played it. I don't think I presented
Yeah.
it to you. We did have a song on the record that was a Marauders song. It was the first track on the record, the Revealing. That
Yeah.
used to be a Marauders song that we did play a
Yeah.
lot.
That we would play a lot, but actually was never officially like released or
Recorded.
Never
anything.
Okay.
recorded or released. I mean, it was recorded poorly. But
Well, that's it. Well, I mean, like, what's cool about this record is it's like a through story, right? And
Yeah.
you're picking up on all those things, and like kind of what you've explained, like because then that hits with the crazy glass breaking and shit, and like,
yeah.
but like that's cool to know. That was also so now when you're pulling
See,
songs
that's a
for
whole
this
part of
record-
it too. I was thinking,
Yeah. Let's kind of dive in. Well, no, let me get one like fucking sticky wick.
I mean, I got a lot,
situation.
you know,
Yeah, okay.
because I'm only going to name like 2.
All right,
but I got
2.
a lot because I used to record a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
And so there's always problems.
Right,
as
right.
Connor knows. So, because Connor has his own studio now as well.
Yeah.
Plastic Dino.
Plug that.
Yeah. Well, he just did. So.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more for sure. But
Yeah, we'll
Let
get
me
back
find
to
a
that.
good sound for plug. Plastic Dino Recordings.
I'm gonna have to use that.
probably available now, right, in Bay Village.
Oh yeah. We have
Book some time.
You can go to plasticdino.com or plasticdinorec.com. I bought both of those, so they both redirect to the same
There
website.
you go.
Yeah.
Check us out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
Also, shout out to Tuck Mindrum, who is my partner in crime over there. So
yes. Probably for me, it's when somebody records something and they can't tell that it's out of tune. Or
Yeah.
they can't tell that they missed the tempo.
Yeah.
And I like keep on gently nudging them, like, "Come on, you can do it one more time." Like,
yeah.
one time I was recording with Leah, and I don't mean anything bad on the guy that recorded us because he did such a great job.
Yeah.
But he just wouldn't tell me what was wrong with what I was playing, and it was
Gotcha.
really pissing me off because
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "Dude, I do this too. Like, just tell me what's wrong." You know.
Right.
So I finally got to it, and he just was like, we're almost there. Just one more. Just you're close. Just one more.
Yeah, yeah.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh, there's just 2 notes." Why didn't you just tell me?
Yeah, I
You
could've
know, like,
killed those 2
I have been
notes.
wasting 15 minutes of both of our times. Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude.
And
Almost-
there's that pressure too, right? And like,
You know, some people feel it. I don't feel it.
yeah.
I know, like Joe Radke used to get red light fever.
Right.
As soon as we did record, it was just like, "Oh my god, this is it. I can't do it." You know.
Well, I mean, like when you're paying for someone's time,
Exactly.
That's-
If you're the
that's-
one paying for it.
that's when you start to worry about that.
Yeah. But if I'm
And
like,
usually
yeah,
that's
yeah,
me.
I'm
Let's-
just-
if I'm being honest.
Yeah, someone's paying me.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But
Blah, boom. But so he did, and the other one would be so
like
the
a
2
vocal
notes.
thing,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really tiny. Like, oh, just go up 1 dB. I just go back down. You know,
Yeah,
put a little
yeah.
more bottom on there. You know, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Or if something's too boomy, then
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you got to cut the bass. And they're always like, add more treble. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you got to cut. It's a
That's-
cutting game. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
Those
It's-
are my pet
Yeah,
peeves.
that would drive me fucking bonkers. Like that's why I don't. But yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And it's interesting because as soon as you like know kind of what you're doing, like I get the whole like do another take, and there's like I am 110% know I'm missing something. Tell me to do it again. Like if I ever do a take
Yeah.
and then he's like, yeah, that was good. I'm like, let me do it again anyway. Like
Yeah.
the guy I work with is super cool. I work with this dude out of Solon, and like fucking, I'm just like, especially with vocals, I'm like, I'll do it again. He's like, I think that was good. I'm like, you sure? Let's save that one. Let me try it again. And he's like, I don't know what you're looking for now, but that was fine.
Yeah. Oh, or if they think that it was totally fine and it's not fine and they want to move on,
Right.
you're like, but it wasn't fine.
Right.
Like,
You're like, and like, but
please.
sometimes that outside source here's the bigger picture.
yes.
yeah, there's
So-
a certain balance to be
There's a
had there
balance,
for
yeah.
sure
Yeah.
between like the person, you know, knowing what they want, but also
Trusting.
sometimes
Yeah.
needing to hear this is actually really good,
Right.
and you should like. I wish I could make you hear what I'm hearing.
But
Yeah,
also, to be
totally.
in that situation, you're kind of playing with psyche in a way. You're kind of working with people's
Absolutely.
emotions, and it's not just like because the red light fever is a thing,
Yeah.
and like you overcome that to record your stuff. And now, how do you comfort someone else
Yeah.
who's like, you know what I mean? Like
Audio engineer and therapist.
exactly.
Totally.
Dude,
It's
a lot of sessions kind of
all
devolve
about.
into like let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
yeah.
like
I know. I
uh,
totally get that. And if
it's
you-
important. It's very
Right.
important.
But when you find someone that you can record and trust with, like you can at Plastic Dino Studios, you can like. Did I fuck up the name?
No, that's a great plug.
At Plastic Dino Studios, you will make records.
You will make records and progress. Anyway,
Roaring through this.
We care.
we can. But also, so okay, the first track is an old Marauders track.
Dig up your trauma.
We could turn down the dBs of your self. Your self.
Your self pity.
Your self pity. What's the word I'm looking for? Hope.
We'll We'll just boost the treble on your soul.
We'll turn down the treble and boost the self-confidence
Oh, yeah.
of your soul.
Oh yeah.
You'll sound great and feel great.
I feel good, yeah.
But anyway,
You'll
so
like the way you feel.
you like the way you feel.
Soul pass.
So fast.
I kind of like that. I feel like that's definitely a bit
It's a good one.
like. But okay, back to the record. Ballad. So like going back into like, so it starts off with the Marauders track. What else like thematically is going on? Because there's the narrative of your kind of everything that happened and getting through that.
Yes.
And like
It's a tale of 10 years.
Right.
Would be the best way to describe it. I
a
think,
tale
yeah.
of 10 years.
Yeah.
So like musically, how much of those tunes are being pulled from different points within those 10 years, or were they written to reflect those 10 years?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So that Marauders track, the first track, Revealing, definitely, it ended up becoming like, it was either that was going to be the first one, or did I come to you with like, this is the whole list, this is how it's going?
We tried to do one that's going to eventually be coming out as the first record.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so we had a track that we had been working on forever, and we
Yeah.
just couldn't get the right feel for it. And so he brought up the song that we had done forever ago, and he's like, "Hey, let's try this and see if this fits better."
Right.
And we nailed it out. Took a day, I think. We
Yeah.
went through and just got the bones of it and laid it down.
It made that much more sense, too, because it was a Marauders track.
From that
It was
point.
that time,
No, that
yeah.
totally makes sense to me. That's why I'm like, what else is going on
Yeah,
here?
and
Like,
that was kind of like a little bit of a musical epiphany, I think, because you're right. Yeah, the other track was called CCQ, and it didn't work, and it will be coming out the next EP we do. But yeah, so we did that. So Fortune Teller, that was written for the record. That's the second track. Third track's Fly in the Bush. That was written to reflect that period of time.
Right.
And that was written during that period of time, too,
Right.
in college. Silver Morning was written for the record. Graduation, that was written for the record. Dance with the Quervains was written around that time.
that was like that piece you're working
That
on.
big piano guy.
And
Yep.
like that song's so epic. It reflects the healing process within that. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
like that's like I remember you telling me about that song, forgetting the title of that song, going back and listening to that track and being like, holy shit, this is like
Yeah, and it's almost like the centerpiece of the record, too.
Yeah.
That's really where the shift starts to happen.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm not hurting anymore. I'm moving forward and
yeah.
moving on. Then it's Out of the Blue was written around that time as well for that year period. I think it's Turning. Turning was the last song that we wrote. It was like a last-minute addition, too.
Okay.
Wasn't going to be on the record. But then we just kind of stumbled onto the riff while we were, while we were finishing everything else up.
yeah, fuck.
Then it's Great Pretender, written for the record, and then Ballad. I wrote Ballad a long time ago, actually. I was walking down the street while it was one of those mornings where I was on
Right.
the schedule, and I was like going for a morning walk, and the just like hit me in the head, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, and I just kept it in my pocket probably
Yeah.
for like 5 years.
Did the concept with that come, or was the concept like put together? Because like, did that song come before the actual record?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was like, oh shit, we gotta put it together now.
But then the full evolution of that song
Yeah.
happened towards the end of actually making the record. I
Yeah.
think, right.
Because that song encapsulates pieces and just sounds from all previous 9 songs.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like, I
so
was
it's
like,
like-
there's a lot of motifs coming back in
Yes.
this one.
Totally.
Yeah.
Good ear.
Yeah, well, like,
Very Hans Zimmer of you.
Yeah, that's what we were going for with that. And so that one really could not be finished being written until everything else was written and
Right.
recorded. So I knew what to do with it.
but just knowing where the period is going to be, or the exclamation point, or the question mark of the thing makes everything else become important, and having to
Totally.
knock it out. Great Pretender is super fucking catchy, too.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
yeah.
what kind of the mindset with that, like, the narrative with that, is that kind of like being, like, is that kind of like trying to I don't know, like, I don't want to put a meaning to it.
Yeah,
that's
no,
not there,
sure.
but like,
It's-
pretending like it's all better, or like,
It could be a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So truly, it was more like coming back to start playing shows again.
Yeah.
Whether it wasn't specifically about coming back and playing during Cellophane Jane as much as it was coming back and playing during the Pistolettes or coming back and playing with my brother, more importantly, because I wasn't playing drums for probably like a year and a half or something. And then there was finally like the show. It's like, okay, I'm coming back to play. And, you know, like, I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but I'm known well enough around town as a really intense drummer. And so, like, all of the good drummers showed up to that show.
Yeah, you're like, fuck.
And so it was like, that's not what I wanted. And,
It never is.
no, and, you know, they're all standing there with their arms crossed, just staring at me.
Coming to the third gig, please, not the first.
It sucked because at the end of that show, like, my hands started giving out. So I was like, well, how am I going to recover from this? Like, I'm not able to hit what I want to hit. So I just picked up my drums and threw them.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's got to know that I can't play anymore. And they were like, wow, dude, that was really crazy. And I had this drum head. It's still on the front of the drum. It says Rogers, which is like a drum company from the 50s, 30s. And I kicked the bass drum over. And everyone's like, oh, my God, he like kicked a Rogers drum. I was like, no, and luckily it's not. It's something from like the 90s. But like, it made that, like the point was made home. It's just like, oh, my God, he's back. You know? But I was totally kind of like faking it. And it's coming to terms with like, I didn't feel comfortable coming back on stage. I was feeling like I was going through the motions for a lot of it too, because I think that was a whole other part with it in my head. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of stage fright anymore, which is great. But it was also just a loss of like joy in doing something. Right. So I was like, do I want to do this anymore? You know, like, do I feel comfortable doing this? I'm getting on stage. I'm not getting a reaction. I'm not feeling anything doing this. I'm just, like I said, going through the motions. But eventually it was like, okay, find some kind of comfort and peace in what you're doing, whether that's you're writing these songs and now you're playing them out. Like, there's different ways to find success.
Right.
You know, that doesn't really have to amount to, like, people telling you, like, you did great or this is good. It's like, if I wrote the song and I finished the song and I feel good about it, that's success enough. Yeah. You know, because I feel comfortable in that. So it's more, instead of seeking approval from people, it's just like finding it in your own work and in your own ways. Yeah,
but that's a hard thing to come to when you're kind of like fighting against the world to prove a point. You know what I mean? Like when you're like, and not in like a violent way, just to prove your self-worth as a performer or a musician. You're always, pinned up against someone else who's playing, and like. So that's a big deal to come to terms to be like, I did the thing and I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? It sounds easy now, and I'm sure anyone listening will be like, yeah, dude, I'm cool with it, but still, we're gonna play and we're gonna defeat the shit out of that other band.
Yeah, I mean, and it was something weird that we used to face a lot, being like 16, going to these bars and playing for these blues people. Because I don't know if it happened to you, but it happened to me every single time we played. Like, it was like, oh, these young kids are going to get on stage. They're probably going to sing their pop punk songs and whatever. And then they get on stage and start wailing. Yeah. And then afterwards you win them over. But it was like,
but there's that buzz where you're like, you didn't expect something, and I overcame your expectations or lack thereof. Yeah. And like that feels good.
And like that used to feel great, but at that moment in time after all of this, I didn't feel that anymore. So it was like, where else can I find that kind of feeling? That's not drugs.
Right. Right. But that's finding that self-validation through other people when really it's got to be on your own.
Exactly.
And that keeps the engine continuously burning.
Totally.
Right. That's fuel for yourself.
Yeah.
It's all about making music that people want to hear.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's the only thing that's fulfilling.
Dude, I was just talking to Lindsay about this the other day. Like, I talk to people about their music all the time. They're just like, I can't listen to myself. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I make the music that I want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm going to put myself on and I'm going to hear my own fucking songs,
Right. I love listening to my own music.
Like, what do you mean
during this entire process, every time I got something from him in this, like, I would just play it. And, like, it slowly got all the layers on it. I'm like, now I can, because I can finally start to hear what he's been, like, envisioning.
Yeah.
Because I could not see where this was, like, I understood there was a place it was going, but I didn't know 100% where it was going. And every time I was just like, oh, man. And when, like, finally hear the final mixes of this stuff and, like, ballad, I'm just like, whoa. Like,
when you're writing a song, Dave, do you hear the final thing in your head before you do it?
I hear a ghost of it. You know what I mean? Like, I know, like, all right, I know where it's gonna go, and I know what I want initially. Like, like I'm like, okay, I want this type of harmony here, and I want to build up 3 parts, and it's gonna go to this part. I don't know exactly what that's gonna sound like until I do it, but I'm going to shoot for that direction. So I get a ghost of everything.
Yeah.
That's not the melody and the progression, and like I'm kind of like always like pleasantly surprised by what Pat or Cody adds, and like sometimes it's the complete picture,
Yeah.
but most of the time it's the outline with ghost uncolored background. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, but is that the opposite for you? Do you hear everything?
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'll just start recording the drums first.
Right.
You know, I think on I don't know, everything until you started recording with me, Nate. I recorded all the drum parts first, and then I would go and I'd add everything else on top.
Yeah.
Of it, so I knew where
Exactly
it
where
was
it's
all
gonna
going to
go.
Yeah.
But you don't start writing like that, right?
It just depends. Sometimes
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
hop on the drums and I'll write the whole song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, so and that's cool to have those different ways to get to that that end picture, you know. Like I don't know, like and like there, it's a really weird process, and like I try to keep a writing habit of writing like every other day for an hour, and just doesn't matter, just write,
Totally,
and
yeah.
then kind of going back. So one thing like going back and relearning and playing off these old tapes. Was that kind of like a way to kind of with memory and like kind of triggering some of that stuff to
Totally.
work off that and like
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on writing from that?
Because, you know, I think for a while, I never really, like, I could sit down and I could start coming up with songs, and I could probably write like 10 songs just sitting here and coming
Yeah.
up with stuff. A lot of times I think I'll end up texting you and I'm like, I wrote 25 songs today. Like, it just
Nate's
like,
like,
they end
"Fuck,
up like,
okay."
I have this like huge, like, bleh, it just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all shows up at once.
I'll get like days like that where you're like, I finished 4. And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're like, fuck. And like the next day, it's like I spend that hour doing fucking nothing.
Nothing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I
except
make sure to do
it's
that
out
time.
for weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, you're like, God.
Yeah, I think because I got all these demos from so long ago, I think, yeah, that was a way of trying to remember how we were doing things. And like, I would try to get back into that mindset of like, okay, you know, I got this really cool drum part, and like, what can I build on top of it? Or what was this song supposed to be? You
Right.
know, like listening back to those too, like I can remember exactly. Now, surprisingly, after having forgotten everything, I remember everything.
Yeah.
So I can remember exactly where I was when I recorded whatever it was, what I was
Yeah.
wearing, and like the drums, and
That's
it's
pretty fucking
crazy.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
wild.
clear. That's pretty clear.
Because once you forget everything,
Yeah.
you'll never want to forget anything ever again. It's
Yeah.
it's like
That makes
It's
sense.
all you
though.
got, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and it really is. It really is. Everything that our whole entire lives is here.
yeah,
You know?
totally.
And everything that matters and everything that has value, you know, all those emotions are wrapped up in that.
Oh yeah.
Like
Big
if you
time.
think about like your first whatever guitar or instrument, it's precious in a way, but also like it's the shittiest one usually.
yeah.
So like if you completely forgot why it mattered, you'd be like, I don't know, you want it, kid? You know?
yeah,
It's-
totally.
And
Yeah.
like, but holy shit. Yeah, that's it. I always like it's weird. I do sometimes hear that end bit, or I can shape that end bit to where that ghost vision is
Yeah.
going. But I admire someone who can like hear the whole thing, because sometimes
Yeah.
I'm really bad with giving directions. I'm like, we have a violin on the track. Okay, try playing that. Is this good? Yeah. Like
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny. Another, you know, I was talking to Lindsay, and I was like, you know, I got I could still hear in my head, clear as day, exactly how the record was gonna go if
Yeah.
you didn't play on it. And so it's funny because it's like, you know, I like what we came up with, and it's really great, but I still hear that in my head nonstop.
Yeah.
I'm like, should I record it too, just so
Yeah,
I can get
'cause-
it out of me?
Yeah.
For me, like Silver Morning,
Yeah.
how that one started, there was a completely different rhythmic pattern.
Yeah.
And so
And it was
you would
quick,
like
too.
you had the bass, but you're like, I don't know 100% what I want to do with the drums, and so I came up with the drum pattern. Just kind of at the time, I was listening to Phil Collins a lot, so it
Uh-huh.
was kind of definitely
Yeah.
Phil inspired, and it just
Phil-
kind of turned it into what it is. And
Yeah.
so, like that's one for sure that I know that it definitely had some influence on there.
100%.
Well, you know, and like one thing, so I threw violin out there for an example, but you know, I don't know how what a typical violin mindset would be. So I trust the person I brought in, you know, to record that bit and come up with the best thing that I would never be able to do because I'm not that person. And
Yeah.
then they get the share that like I had a little bit on that. Maybe they're like, oh fuck, I had a little bit on that. You know what I mean? Like whatever it may be in their mind, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I like to think like it lets someone have their like, I'm in on this too. You know, not that like there's no wrong way, but you know what I mean, like. I don't know. It's such an interesting like space, and most people I talk with like they're like, yeah, I hear the whole thing. What do you mean you don't? I'm like, fuck, I miss it. You know what I mean? And I mean it in the good way.
Yeah.
Like shit.
I feel like I can do that, but
Yeah.
like I also feel like I've had to like tell myself to like not do that,
Yeah.
to like not set an expectation, at least when I'm working with other people, because that it's never the way that I hear it in my head, because there might be something fucked up in my head, but I always hear like things that just like aren't even like possible for some reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll hear like notes that like are like in between another note, and it doesn't even make sense like when I try to like put it out. So it's like I just try to like not have expectations, do my own parts, and then just let other people run with it. And
Yeah.
I feel more satisfied that way,
Okay.
like I just kind of
That's
like let it go. And again, it's like back to like the numbers game thing. It's like if I just try not to like overthink any one thing, I'll just be satisfied more, and
Right.
just like that's just a me thing though.
But I imagine coming from that perspective of working with other people, there's an inflection within yourself later, right? Like I don't know if like I don't. Do you like bring in a lot of people to record them? I know you worked with Mike and with Leah,
Yeah.
but like I don't know if like if
Like
if
to
that's-
have them like guest on things, you
No,
mean,
or
or like
just,
just
like,
to actually record people?
record people.
I used to.
Yeah?
I haven't done it in so long. A lot of it has to do with I think just the space that
In
I
time.
have.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
And I thought about doing like going to your place and like bringing people in, and being the guy that's running the session, or doing
Yeah.
that with Bad Racket and stuff.
Right.
And
You know Henry? Henry
yeah,
Rapp?
yeah. Love Henry. Yeah. So that was like an opportunity that I had at one point, but I just don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have the time because I got to focus on this, and I'm like
Yeah.
working on a ton of stuff with my brother. And
Yeah.
at that time, I was working on Leah's record and the All His Harvest record.
Yeah.
So it's just like
That's a lot.
there was no time.
Plus,
You know?
and
it's hard to work with other people on projects like that unless you're like really invested in it and like
Right.
really
Yeah.
like it and
Yeah.
you want to be a part of it. It can be like really frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think luckily for all of those projects, I was playing on them. Like I
Yeah.
played a ton of guitar on the All His Harvest record. I played all the guitar on the Tom Catley's record.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
So being more of a sideline, letting someone else make the big decisions, but you bringing what you can to those bits.
yeah. But I'm the one that's in charge of recording it too.
Which
you
is
know?
kind of like, okay, it goes back to those big
It
bits.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you were saying, Connor, with like letting other people bring in their own bits to it, like I ended up doing that for this record too, because me and Nate started like there was a tiny bit of clashing at the beginning because like, this is how it's supposed to go, though I just don't understand it. And you're like,
Yeah.
but what if you just did it? And that worked out so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of that, like, well, it's interesting that this is the first record, Cellophane Jane record you're on, but also to me that kind of like checks out in a way because it's like it's the collaboration. Like as part of telling that story, you've been a character within the story since track one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like metaphorical, actually on the take, and like coming. You know what I mean? Like so, I think that's also what makes this one stand out way more. Like. I don't know if all 5 are on Spotify.
They are.
They are? Okay, because I went through and listened to everything that's on Spotify as well, but I kept going back to the ballot.
Yeah, because it'll divide it up into like mini EPs or something like
Oh,
that.
okay,
So
yeah,
it might
yeah.
be in like a separate section.
Got it.
I
Got it.
call them all, records.
Well,
but
they
it doesn't
are.
matter. Yeah,
They fucking are. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
well, it doesn't matter if it's like.
because I'll do like a 5-song single, but it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay.
Put 5 songs.
Yeah.
You write 5 songs for your one single. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting space to kind of reflect back to. So kind of unpin something we pinned a minute ago. So you're recording a lot with your brother and with his stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're also working on this record with your dad.
Yeah.
Can you kind of get into that? What's
Sure.
this record that's been going on for 10 years or whatever?
So, my dad, like I said, is a drummer,
Yeah.
and he's also a singer. But he would try to show these ideas to the other members of his band, but he couldn't really, like, project...
Vocally?
Yeah, like
Or
melodically to
okay.
people and be like, I want it to sound like this.
Yeah.
So he would like start a loose sort of vocabulary and like be like, it's supposed to sound like this song, but it's it's not this
Yeah.
song. And so the only thing I think I was maybe one of the only people that would like listen to it, and he would kind of vocalize, and I would try and see if I could like get those notes on guitar,
Yeah.
and be like, okay, is it like this? And he's like, yeah, So
Yeah. Okay.
I had a couple tracks that I wrote that are they just didn't fit with anything. They were
Yeah.
riffs beyond the Marauders at that point. So I brought those in and was like, what do you think of these? They're kind of
Yeah.
like Jeff Beck kind of tracks or
Okay.
Rory Gallagher or something. And so then he had his stuff. So yeah, we've been working on that for I don't even know how long anymore. And we recorded like a whole version of it. And he's like, let's do it again. Because it's a drummer's record is what it's
Right.
supposed to be.
Right.
But he hasn't had like a lot of recording experience either. So he doesn't know like you can do something again.
Yeah.
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 Or if it's not good, like you can just stop and
Right.
just do it again.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, 2 takes and that's it. We're out. I'm like,
Yeah,
Wait, you dropped the whole middle, man. Like,
Yeah. But
let's go
it's-
back.
That's also mature from listening back to yourself so many fucking times and
Yeah,
hating
totally.
it and learning, I can chunk it or I can plunk all the way through, and like knowing when to do that again. Like that's
Yeah.
it's such a, it sounds so simple,
Yeah.
like you can do it again.
Yeah,
Like, but wait,
you just
what?
don't think about that,
Right,
You're
because
like,
it's
this
supposed
is
to be.
it.
There's this mythology of like you have to do it and you have to fucking kill it, right? But it's also okay to not fucking kill it,
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, so that's something you guys are working on.
Yeah,
or
we're
getting
just still
close?
working on
Okay.
it. We were hoping to get it done, but then COVID ran in.
Right.
I think we were trying to get it out for his 70th, but
Hell yeah.
COVID hit, so it's like,
Yeah.
we're still working on it.
Okay.
We're gonna hit it up again next year, I think.
Very
Yeah.
cool. And as far as like Cellophane Jane, I know this is like a big one to put out, but like you're also talking about the next EP.
Oh my god!
And I'm
yeah.
sure like you got songs
next
on
two,
songs.
perhaps.
Oh yeah, I've got
Two?
like so
Yeah.
the way that like even when we were in the Marauders, I had 5 records planned out. So I have
Yeah.
all these tracks. I'm like, I got to put them together. So I think Alan taught me this. Like, you get all these tracks together,
Yeah.
you make the list, you make it in order, and
Yeah.
then you're done, and you cement it that way. And
Yeah.
you really work through those tracks, and now you record it, and
Yeah.
I will always know what order it's gonna be in from the beginning before we even start.
Yeah.
So I think we've got like 3 EPs planned out
Okay.
already.
Yeah.
I don't know when they're going to come out. Probably
But-
we might just focus on doing all of those next year.
Right.
Even. But yeah,
And that's cool to like, kind of like take the time and just go and chunk it, just get
Yeah.
the fuck out and like spend that time and then distribute it slowly
Yeah.
while you're working on the next chunk.
exactly. Yeah, because I
Um,
think we reached a point where it was like we finished recording Ballad last May, I think, or
It was about May.
February maybe.
No, it was about May when like the final mixes were like
Uh-huh.
when you had them done.
Yeah, and so then right after that, already started recording the next EP.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I totally, like that's what we do with Sea Level. Like we finished one, and it's the only reason it's not been done is because I was waiting for harmonies for a minute from someone else, you
Yeah.
know, and like I was kind of just like, it's gonna be cool. But while that waiting, like we were already like halfway through the next chunk, for
Totally.
the next one.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, I can't sit still type
No.
deal,
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, he put out 5 in 1 year, and now it's taken a couple years to put out this one. So like
but
we're
makes
gonna
sense.
It
we're,
evens
we're
out.
ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
It evens out, yeah.
Well, no, it evens out with like the quality of the one. Not that the other
That
5
too,
didn't have quality.
yeah.
This is fucking a dense ballad's a dense fucking
It's
record.
very dense. Yeah.
Like, but so that's the next one's gonna be this these next 3 EPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's the Grog Shop show. What else? Let's do a plug hole. Let me see. What's a good plug hole
Plug
sound?
hole, you say?
Yeah. That's a round of applause for
Yeah,
plug what
yeah,
you got
yeah.
coming out. Let's I think we hit a really good like kind of narrative of where we are,
I think so.
and like where this record is and like
Yeah.
decent.
Yeah, we got the Grog Shop shows coming up on 11/11.
Yeah.
With
Make-A-Wish?
Jasi, I think
Yeah.
is how you pronounce it. It's like it looks like Gayasi. But
Okay.
It says everywhere else in parentheses Jasi.
Okay.
So maybe it's Jasi.
Yossi.
I don't know.
Like, you know,
Or is it Yasi?
Yeah. Oh, it could be Yasi.
Oh.
It's pretty cool.
Yahtzee?
That guy, he dresses up like David Bowie. He's got these like one-piece like leotard thing,
Yeah.
unitards. I have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
idea. And they're like sparkly and stuff.
Ooh.
Looks pretty cool.
It looks
He's very
pretty cool.
glammy and
Yeah,
fun.
we're,
Yeah,
we're gonna
hell
have to
yeah.
glam up for that show for sure.
Definitely.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll dress up like the
For
witch
part.
again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put the prosthetic
Return
on.
of the Witch.
Yeah, and all we have lined up right now. We do want to do some more shows. I'm working on
Yeah.
an album release with my brother.
Yeah.
That's coming on Black Friday. I actually don't know. think it's at the 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't know what's going on in Wigged Out Land.
We also have a show on Black Friday.
Hey,
Whoa,
Competing.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa.
Yeah, we
No.
got we're playing with Lilie and
Okay,
wow,
cool.
I can't remember the other name of the band, the name of the other band. So I'm sorry, guys.
it's at Happy Dog, right?
I wasn't I wasn't prepared. Oh, I was expecting the wah, wah,
That's what I was going for, but I pushed the wrong one. I failed.
Yeah, no, that's at Happy Dog. That'll be a fun show.
That's
That's
cool.
our first show in a while, but we're psyched for it because we just tracked our first like serious song with Talk at Plastic Dino because we needed somebody good behind the board, somebody great behind the board.
There you go.
Tuck is amazing, and really psyched for that song to come out. But before that comes out on Black Friday, we'll be releasing our first 2 original singles that are just like in your face punk songs.
Very
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Hell
So
hell
that's going to be pretty sweet. Excited for that. Those are recorded and mixed by me up in my apartment because the studio wasn't done at the time. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah, fun stuff.
Tight. What do you got, Nate?
Yeah, Nate.
I just got cellophane stuff, man.
What about your birthday celebration? It's coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
we
birthday boy.
We got the birthday thing, right? We're all invited, right?
I mean that. Coming down from the celebration on that.
Okay, we got the.
We didn't want to
Yeah,
get.
you missed
get-
it, man. You missed it.
Didn't want to get turned up on a Tuesday
Oh yeah.
when you wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Eliminates
That lemonade.
how late. Eliminates how late you want to stay up.
Was it now? Like as far as like booking stuff, are you guys like aiming to do that more, or is like
Yeah.
kind of taking? Are you pacing that?
You know, it's been kind of weird coming back to playing shows after
Yeah.
COVID too.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
had to
like
be thrown a whole
all the
nother wrench.
bookers aren't the same people anymore.
They're all new,
and
except for the Grog, I think.
I'll reach out to
Beach
the
one.
owners, and I'm not getting anywhere. And
Yeah.
it's weird because it's like I've known these people for
Right.
almost 20 years because I've
You
been
scream in the
doing it
void
with my band.
still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with my brother, and I'm just like, come on, guys, what are
Yeah,
you doing? You know, like
Yeah,
it's a different place out there now. So I just have to start going to the venues and beating people up.
Yeah, yeah. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. I'll come. I'll bring the. We'll get the sharp
There
stuff.
we go. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hope.
Yes.
Anything that you want to plug? Franz wise.
Potentially a December public transit fest.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
You're only allowed to get. You have to show your bus pass to get in, and like.
That's cool.
Does the old CSU ones count?
Goats, my goats. If not, I'm not getting in. All right. Well, hell yeah. Well, thanks, guys, for doing this. This is
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of fun. I haven't got to
Yeah.
do one in person for a minute.
Oh, cool.
Most of these I do over the phone, so I don't get to, like, you get to interact and
Yeah.
listen, but I'm like, intensely listening, and, like, it's fun to be in a room with people.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
this record's amazing, and I know the next 3 are going to be equally amazing, and we got to do some shows together.
Yeah.
Let's make that
definitely.
happen.
And you got anything coming up?
I'll plug it at the top.
There we go.
Nah.
There we go.
But anywho, all right, friends. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank
you,
you,
man.
man.
Yo, Spike Spiegel here. You just listened to Zig at the Gig podcast. Keep riding the bebop. See you, Space Cowboy.